We have reconvened from closed session, and I have nothing to report from closed session. So we will adjourn the special meeting at 6:01, which now takes us to our regular meeting. I would like to call to order the Elk Grove City Council regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. It is 6:01 p.m. Clerk.
And thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption. It will be webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Tonight's meeting replays will be on Friday, May 26th at 1 p.m. and Monday, May 29th at 1 p.m. on Channel 14. Previous meetings can be viewed online at www.elkgrovecity.org or youtube.com/metrocable14. For members of the participating audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting or on mute when you are not speaking. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular notice agenda item as it may deem necessary. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the City Council for more than 3 minutes. If you wish to address the Council during the meeting, please complete a blue speaker card, which can be found in the back of the chamber, and provide it to Assistant City Clerk Brenda Haggard prior to consideration of the agenda item. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So next up is our roll call.
And for the roll call, I will start with Councilmember Robles.
Present.
Councilmember Brewer.
Present.
I'll note that Councilmember Suen is absent, Vice Mayor Spies,
Present.
and Mayor Singh Allen.
Here. All right, thank you. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance, and Jason Jong, would you mind coming up and helping us lead the pledge? My eyes can't go past that row, so I can't see.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. At this time, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next up is our approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, if I may, propose that we move item 10 just before item 6.
Okay, so we are
So it'll be
moving.
just prior to the general administration information.
Okay, so after item 5, we'll go to item 10.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we have a motion to do that. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. So we've made, and that was for the approval of the agenda with that change,
Yes, ma'am.
for the record. Next item, closed session.
Under Section 3, there are no closed session items on the regular agenda. That will advance us to Section 4, our presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which are proclamations recognizing May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Wonderful. Well, I believe we have a treat for us this evening. So I will go ahead and call up Jason. If you want to cue the drums.
Like remarks first?
We'll do it's up to you. We can do the remarks and I'll read the proclamation and then do the drums, or we can start off with the drums.
Sure.
Which do you prefer?
Maybe I'll do remarks first.
Okay, then let me recognize you, and then I'll turn it over to you. So in recognition of AAPI Heritage Month, we are recognizing 2 dynamic individuals who do great work in our city and greater region. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, May 2023, whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander encompasses many ethnic groups with diverse backgrounds, histories, languages, and cultures. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates the collective accomplishments of these communities. And whereas Jason Jong is a community advocate, cultural connector, percussionist, and creator of inclusive arts and cultural experiences, who for nearly 30 years has played supporting roles as board member, staff, and advisor to several public and nonprofit organizations in the greater Sacramento area and beyond. And whereas in 2013, Jason co-founded the Sacramento Asian Pacific Cultural Village, presenters of the Sacramento Asian Pacific Film Festival, and producers of Asian Creative Space. Jason is a co-founding member of API's Rise Fund, a giving circle working to increase the capacity and impact of Asian Pacific Islander philanthropic giving in the Sacramento region, as well as co-founding board member of Asian American Liberation Network, whose mission is to build power in the Asian American community to advance social justice and collective liberation. And whereas through his work, Jason hopes to create and support meaningful community experiences that uplift traditional and contemporary arts, creativity, and cultural wisdom with the ultimate goal of promoting dialogue, healing, and social justice. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove hereby affirms and proclaims May 2023 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Elk Grove, and recognizes Jason Jong for his commitment to building cultural capacity, advancing the recognition that all struggles are intimately connected, and creating the kind of world we desire is not just a value, but an action. Please help us recognizing Jason Jong.
Thank you, Mayor Singh-Allen, Vice Mayor Spees, and other City Council members. Before I provide brief remarks, I just wanted to acknowledge that I recognize that we are here on lands of Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok peoples. And as we do with all of the events that we produce out of the Cultural Village, we honor and respect their legacy. I also wanted to thank the City Manager's Office, in particular Femi, who had helped prepare the resolution. The mayor alluded to collaborations and organizations that I work with. None of the projects that I have the honor of being involved with happen in a vacuum, happen without any sort of massive team or effort behind it. I wanted to briefly acknowledge some of the co-founders of the Sacramento Asian Pacific Film Festival: Jeff Fong, Mel Fong, Shalene Jane, Aaron Leong, Jeff Louis, Christina Marie, and Larry Miyamoto. It's really important to me because we don't often get to acknowledge those individuals behind the scenes. With the projects that I get to work on, I have just an amazing support team behind me. My partner, Alexis Pan, my mother and father, Michael and Priscilla Jong, my uncle and aunt with us tonight, Auntie Wanda and Uncle Tom. And there's just a whole cast of organizations behind us. I also want to acknowledge the City Council body at your last meeting where you did approve and we are thankful for your support of the 2024 Asian Pacific Culture Fest. That's going to happen at District 56 again. Thank you for the in-kind acknowledgement as well as the financial support from this council body. And I also couldn't proceed without acknowledging the co-creators of Asian Pacific Culture Fest, Jennifer and Remy Tokunaga of the Creative Space. They are really one of the first organizations to support API small businesses, especially at the top of the pandemic, and especially important for our community as we were receiving and still do receive the brunt of anti-Asian hate and violence in our communities. And so with that, I did want to also acknowledge the mayor's office for personal support over the last 2 years of Culture Fest. And unfortunately, while he's not here, my friend, Councilmember Suen, who has served as our co-MC for the last two Asian Pacific Culture Fest events. We saw more than 7,000 individuals coming here to your city to spend time and to enjoy the outdoor environment, to enjoy restaurants and possibly hotel stays as they visited the community. 120 vendors, more than a dozen cultural arts groups and organizations, artists performing, enriching the city of Elk Grove. One of these organizations was founded in 1993, and this is the Koyosan Spirit of Children Taiko Group, and they're celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. And with that, we do have a couple of members, Jonathan Gong and my son, Isara Jong, who are here to perform a piece for you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
And as they're coming up, I just want to personally thank you for all the tremendous work you do, not only on behalf of the AAPI community, but the great partnerships that you have forged throughout the region. This is how we build great communities, and it's with leaders like you who really step up and do above and beyond. So thank you for all of your past efforts and your continued efforts. That was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I think we should start all meetings like that. Thank you. And Jason, I'll come down here shortly, but at this time, I'm going to go ahead and call up Kathy Chow Rothberg. Is she here? There she is. And I love that you, of course, know each other. All right, in continuation for recognition for the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander encompasses many ethnic groups with diverse backgrounds, histories, languages, and cultures, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates the collective accomplishments of these communities. And, sorry, I've got the wrong one in front of me. Whereas generations of immigrants from every corner of the globe have built our country's economy and created the unique character of our nation, growing businesses, bringing innovation, strengthening our community, creating jobs, and developing leaders. And whereas the Lau Family Community Development was founded by newly arrived refugees from Laos 43 years ago, to date, LFCD has guided and supported over 400,000 disadvantaged Northern Californians to become self-sufficient. While it still works with and are active in the Lao, Yumen, and Hmong communities, its client population has grown beyond any one ethnic group and serves all families in need. And I repeat, all families in need. The LFCD staff deliver services in 35 different languages, with clients representing well over 40 countries and offering uncommon service hours and mobile service. And whereas LFCD, led by its CEO, Kathy Chow Rothberg, serves people who face challenges in the area of poverty and high unemployment, housing insecurity, domestic and family violence, lack of work experience or marketable job skills, live in low-income, high-crime neighborhoods, who lack of financial literacy, credit, and savings, untreated chronic health and mental health conditions, who lack of personal transportation, lack of access to affordable childcare, justice-involved history, and many more challenges. And whereas LFCD strengthens the community by providing comprehensive wraparound services such as income and family support, education and skills training, jobs and career counseling and placement, health access, permanent and home ownership housing, and employment services, proficiently partnering with our public, CBO, and private sector. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove hereby affirms and proclaims May 2023 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Elk Grove, and we thank the Lau Family Community Development and their CEO, Kathy Chow Rothberg, for their commitment to the community. Please help us recognize and congratulate the Lau Family Community Center and Kathy Rothberg. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Singh Allen and the City of Elk Grove's City Council and City Manager. I always want to present right after drums like that. Amazing performance, Jason and his crew. I'm here with my staff, part of my management staff, and several of them actually are Elk Grove homeowners and residents. So I have one of my directors, Kazua Hugh, here. And then on my left over here, I have one of my managers, Mimi, who lives here in Elk Grove and Kazua. And also my staff, my manager, U Waton, who is also a homeowner here in Elk Grove. And also Shafika is also here in Elk Grove. Sorry, I'm in Arden Arcade. I'm in Rich Desmond's district. But we're pleased to serve Elk Grove. So those of you who don't know Lau Family, who may not know us as well, we've actually been serving Sacramento since 2000. We opened a physical office in the Lemon Hill area back in 2007. and we've grown substantially since then. We have 2 locations in South Sacramento, not Elk Grove yet, but we are working with ACC, with Sacramento Sports Foundation, and also California North State University, who are all located here in Elk Grove, as well as Apple, who is one of your major employers over here, and many subcontracts to Amazon, who are employers who employ those who are unemployed that we're serving. So we have grown substantially, as the mayor mentioned in the proclamation. We have served over 400,000 Northern Californians, and we deliver service in over 35 languages. We have about 11 buildings in the Sacramento region, and we're growing. We're actually opening a new campus in downtown Sacramento, Sacramento, where the Vagabond Hotel is, and we're also purchasing more property. So we provide a very unique model of service. It's called the CARE, Integrated Service Delivery Model. And if, Kazuo, if you can give this to for the city council. We create campuses, and these campuses are co-located campuses where Lao Family is located there. And we also have our partners, so we deliver bridge housing and permanent housing and homeownership. So we're able to move individuals who are homeless into full-time employment and permanent housing in about 1 year time. So the last 6 years, we've been quietly experimenting here in Sacramento County. We have served over 5,000 individuals already, so that's 1,100 households. And 90% of the families, we've been able to move them from homelessness into permanent housing, full-time employment, and they're paying their own rent in about 6 months. 10% have been able to do it in about 7 to 12 months. But now that we've been working with primarily encampment populations and populations who have been chronically homeless for 10 to 12, 15 years, we're finding that it's actually taking closer to 1 year in order, because there's a lot of prep readiness that we need to provide for them. I'm not going to geek out on you because I can really get into the numbers, but we want to let you know that we're here as a provider. We're here to serve, just like your city and your modem, a city that serves. We are here as an organization that serves, and we're happy to partner up with Elk Grove in the future for your service for serving individuals who need housing and who also need jobs. We look forward to perhaps having a physical presence in the future in Elk Grove. But thank you very much for recognizing our organization for our contribution and for recognizing other organizations for Asian Heritage Month in May. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. And I'll be coming back down there. And I want to thank you, and I would encourage our city manager, if you can connect Sarah Bontrager with Kathy. They do a lot of innovative programs addressing affordable housing needs and homelessness. And so impressed when I was first introduced to you through a mutual friend. You just do tremendous work, not only benefiting our residents, but the entire region. So thank you again for all that you do. And with that, if I can get Jason and whoever you want to come up while I present this.
Thank you very much.
And I'm just gonna all squeeze in between both of you, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you. Nice to meet you. Hi there. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. Hi, and Kathy, and our team here. Nice to meet you.
Okay, are we all in?
I think if you step forward and like create a second row, we've got a lot of folks.
Listen, you're taller, so.
Right here, I'll stand in right here.
Does this work? All right, thank you. So next up is item 4.2, proclamation recognizing May 12, 2023 as Child Care Provider Appreciation Day. And assisting is our Vice Mayor, Kevin Spees.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to call forward representatives of Child Action Incorporated and Heidi Kaiser. Did I get that right? If I didn't get it. Oh, Heidi's not here? I'm sorry? Tracy.
And an Elk Grove provider, Pat Alexander, is with us tonight.
Fantastic, thank you. So I wanted to read a bit of this proclamation here today in recognition of Provider Appreciation Day, May 12th, 2023. Whereas Child Care Aware of America and other organizations nationwide are recognizing child care providers on this day. Whereas Child Care provides a safe, nurturing place for the enrichment and development of millions of children nationwide, and it is a vital force in our economy. And whereas the pandemic illuminated how indispensable child care providers are for the well-being and economic security of young children, families, and communities, and whereas child care programs, which are mostly small businesses, run and staffed predominantly by women, are still recovering from health and financial hardships stemming from the pandemic, while they have continued to meet the needs of families. And whereas the City of Elk Grove recognizes that child care has been a lifeline for families, communities, and the economy, and as such has provided much needed support to providers to help sustain the viability of child care, and our future depends on the quality of the early childhood experiences provided to young children today. Support for high-quality child care represents a worthy commitment to our children's future. Therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council and the City of Elk Grove hereby proclaims May 12, 2023 as Provider Appreciation Day in the City of Elk Grove and urges all citizens to recognize child care providers for their important work.
Would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Honorable Mayor Singh Allen, Vice Mayor Spees, council members Robles, Brewer, and Swin, who's not here, on behalf of the Sacramento Children's Child Care Coalition and the Sacramento Child Care community, we would like to thank you for recognizing the valuable contributions of our early childhood educators through this proclamation. The coalition is comprised of early care and education partners in Sacramento County, and we work together as engaged partners to strengthen families and improve access to high-quality, affordable, and equitable early learning and care across Sacramento County. Our child care providers have been working tirelessly throughout the pandemic to support our littlest learners and their families. Throughout the pandemic, our early educators continued to support families despite reduced income and increased expenses. The provision of sufficient childcare is critical to Sacramento County's economic recovery. Rebuilding and improving Sacramento's childcare infrastructure is integral to rebuilding and improving the county's economy. Thank you for recognizing the important role childcare providers play in our community, and we ask that you consider the coalition as a partner and a resource for all things early care and education. And then I'd like to introduce Pat Alexander, who's been a licensed childcare provider since 1970 and a Sacramento childcare provider since 2001.
Hi. I'd like to thank you all for taking this time to recognize family child care providers, and how vital we are to this community and to all communities throughout our state. We have over 40,000 providers just in home alone in California, and that doesn't count center-based nannies and exempt providers. Child Action is a vital resource for us for referrals and workshops, and the coalition and the collaborations that they have. It's vital to us, and it's very important. We are considered professionals, and I truly love the idea that you recognize that in us. We serve this community. I have served my community for childcare for 53 years now. I don't think I'm retiring soon, but I hope to continue as long as I can. It's something I love doing, as most providers do. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do. So we'll come down there. So I'll let you, here, I'll squeeze in here, and if you want to hold it on both ends. There you go. There you go.
One, two, three. One more time. One, two, three.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up is public comment. We have several people signed up, and these are, again, as a reminder, for non-agendized items. And as a reminder, we have 3 minutes per speaker. So first up is Kirk Johnson, followed by Suzanne Pesci.
Hi, I'm here to talk to you today about sexually explicit pornographic materials being distributed in our local public schools. This is from the book Gender Queer. This isn't educational because this information, this isn't informative in discussing that there are different types of sex. This book shows people engaging in various forms of sex. That's called porn. This is from the book entitled, This Book is Gay. Here's a page which points to various parts of a man with title Boy on Boy Sex, which I'm sure there's no hidden meaning there, with instructions on how to sexually stimulate those body parts, specifically the penis. This is not educationally helpful either because as a former teenage boy, I was able to figure out how to stimulate my penis all by myself. And I'm sure 3 out of 4 of you can probably back me up on that. Now, I sense you may be a bit uncomfortable. Good. These aren't even the most objectionable parts of books I've seen sitting in our middle school libraries. Going back to This Book is Gay, it teaches kids how to use sex apps like Tinder and Grindr, and how to hide that information from their parents, as if sex trafficking needs to be made easier for predators, right? If I, as a private citizen, were standing on a street corner showing Hustler magazine to 12-year-olds, explaining the sexual acts and encouraging them to engage in those acts, I imagine I'd be arrested. However, these books, which are nothing better than sleazy porn magazines, have been purchased by our local public schools, and they can be assigned to kids as young as 12. My questions are, has anyone investigated this? Have any of you publicly demanded these books, at the very least, be removed from the school libraries and moved to the public libraries? Has anything been done, or do you all fully support porn in our schools? Let me be clear. You might think this is something that will blow over. This won't be a long-term problem for you, and you can wait it out. My oldest kid is 5 years old. My kid's education is just getting started. That means I'm just getting started. This doesn't stop until our local public schools stop sexually exploiting our kids as a matter of policy. I would like to think that our local elected leaders would do everything in their power to stop local public schools from overtly sexualizing kids who have barely hit puberty. Please, prove me right on this, since I've been in the school board. They won't.
Next up, and Mr. Thompson, I think you closed by saying you did go to the school board. As it relates to curriculum, that is Elk Grove Unified School District and all school districts. City councils don't govern curriculum. Suzanne Pesci, please come to the podium. Hi.
Hi, good evening, council members. For the record, my name is Suzanne Pesci, and I'm entering into the record, and I would like the city council to discuss and review the city code of ethics that was adopted on April 27th by resolution of the city council in 2005. And I'm asking you to do this because of meeting with various of you in these meetings regarding the Pleasant Grove project. and having the comment made that City Council has changed. And I just wanted to make it clear that as a longtime citizen of this community that vote for you, I really expect that all of you represent all of us, including the longtime residents in various communities, even if it's not your district. All of you represent all of us. So I'm entering this into the record, and I would like for all of you to look at the Code of Ethics that was developed by the citizens in 2005. I know a lot of you may not have been here and involved in public service, and then I would like you to comment on it. Comment back to the public on your perception of this and how you feel it applies to the job City Council is doing. Thank you. So here is the Code of Ethics.
Thank you. Next up is Estella Drake, followed by Kimberly Mendoza.
Hurt my knee, sorry.
So, hopefully you're okay.
Hopefully. I'm Estella Drake, and I live in District 2, and I'm here to talk about cats again. I really want you guys to put this on the agenda because the voice for the voiceless needs to be heard. Trap neuter release helped reduce feral cats by 66% prior to COVID in the United States. Trap neuter release is a program that helps reduce the number of feral cats. Through TNR, feral cats are trapped, spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and released back into the territory. This helps control the population and allows them to live without reproducing more kittens. Since its inception, TNR has helped reduce the number of feral cats by an estimated 66% in the United States. Clearly, this program is having a major impact on feral cat populations and should be continued to help keep the numbers from rising against post-COVID. When it comes to feral cat population, litter size matters. A single female cat can have litters of around 12 or more kittens each year, which can quickly add up. Think about it, 12 kittens, they have kittens, more kittens, that's what we're talking about. Okay? That's why spaying and neutering is so important when dealing with feral and community cats. It reduces their reproductive capabilities and helps keep their numbers from exploding out of control. Many cats also are dumped by citizens because they do not know where to go for affordable spay and neuter, and this adds to the overpopulation as well. It also ensures that kittens won't be born into a life of poverty and struggle. If you see strays in your area, consider rescuing them or taking them to a shelter for help. That's when we have the services, right? Like an additional veterinarian. Please make this happen and hire a second veterinarian for our growing city and the out-of-control population. Your Elk Grove constituents request your approval to approve a full-time veterinarian without further delay from either the general fund and/or Measure E. Let's make this right with lots of purrs. Thank you.
Next up is Kimberly Mendoza, followed by Catherine Mendoza.
And Kimberly Mendoza and Catherine Mendoza submitted comments, visual presentations to accompany their comments this evening, which I'll pull up.
Thank you.
I can. And this should be familiar territory. There's the keyboard to pull out, and that should be allow you to advance.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to bring attention to the petition that I...
There.
Backed up because of the keyboard.
Oh,
Okay, I'll try to talk louder.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
There, thank you.
So I'd like to bring attention to the petition that I started. We are at 374 signatures, and that is more than the number of participants that responded to the Measure E phone survey. So we often run into, there is no funding for a second shelter vet. The general fund is always projected to have more revenue than expenditures. Thank you. So let's take a look at the items that we do have funding for. Dry cleaning, $210,000 for 3 years, for a 3-year contract for uniform dry cleaning. We had $19,600 for the Washington Marriott Capitol Hill lodging. We had $15,500 for 2 council retreats that I know of. We had $7,767 for vet care for 1 canine. We had $49,000 for something called Visit Elk Grove. We had $726 for council member business cards, anniversary cards with envelopes, and the list goes on. The annual shelter staffing study is over $16,000. We could have told you it was not, it was short-staffed. And I'm gonna take a look at resolution 2022-53. We spent over $9 million to purchase 100 acres for the planned Elk Grove Zoo location. How are we considering bringing exotic animals to Elk Grove when we allegedly do not have funding for a second vet to care for the animals already here? And lastly, I am willing to start a GoFundMe to get the money needed to hire a second vet, and I hope that you will make a resolution that the city manager can accept the donations that will go towards this vet. I'm gonna take a look at the other spending that I saw that I didn't include on here. We had the $19,000 in airplane tickets to the lobbying DC trip, $4,200 for sunglasses, $2,000 worth of YouTube subscriptions for these buildings, $900 worth of cookies that was spent at an event, $650 for an unlimited espresso bar, $2,000 for a human snow globe experience, and $450 for a movie screening. So if we can't find the funding in the general fund, I will make a fundraiser for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Catherine Mendoza, followed by Stacy P.
All right, my name is Kathy. I'm going to be talking about why we need to hire a second vet. So in all parts of government, I've noticed that there's always a backup, such as Bobby Singh the mayor. She has a backup, the vice mayor. The only thing that I've noticed is that the shelter vet, there's still one for this entire city. There's only one shelter vet, no backup. So if she's out, we're all struggling. As we've always said, this low-cost solution for overpopulation is to hire a second shelter vet. Some of the problems that we've been experiencing are a lot of people are uncomfortable with the idea of kittens being aborted, which is very often. I've already had to take in several cats, and 11 kittens have been aborted. Sick and injured cats are not treated due to lack of staff on some days. Unfixed cats are released after being turned away from the shelter when they hit their maximum, and kittens are flooding the shelters. A second shelter vet could assist with all of these things. We have a contract with Kittle Veterinary Practice for an amount not to exceed $60,000. I have never been able to use that for any of the feral cats that we bring in. We're turned away. There's no animal control after the shelter closes. There's no vet services after the shelter closes. And most of the cats that are trapped are feral, so they only come out at night. This is one of the cats that one of our volunteers trapped on the same street as the shelter, and she was unable to get any help with that until the following morning when she was able to drop that cat off at the shelter. But yet you guys have a contract for not to exceed $120,000 with VCA Bradshaw, and it even says in the whereas that the shelter cares for stray and homeless animals, but I haven't seen much of that. These are a couple of things that there is money for, including LED light-up sunglasses. The chief of police had a story time where candy canes were purchased for $110. You have a round lip balm, a Mexican fiesta buffet at the Cafe El Grove. There was cookies for a staff survey, which cost $912. You guys took a trip to DC, $24,755.54. That's only a fraction of what I've seen in the spending. So there is city funding available, but there's also state funding. You can apply for grants. The SPCA applied for one and got $705,000. Kim would have signed up for it, but she needs your tax information to do that. These are a couple of questions that you guys might want to consider. If anybody's available for bottle feeding, 12 a.m. check-ins for the shelter to drop off feral cats. If anybody can hold on to a feral cat post-surgery 24 hours, that's typically what we all do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Stacy P., followed by Alan Vito.
Hello again. I was trapping successively this last week, so I wasn't really prepared, but I drafted something up, so forgive me for the mess. We're gonna be coming here every week if you haven't figured it out. We're gonna irritate the heck out of you guys until we get some attention. We need staff, additional staff to help the shelter. The citizens are overwhelmed by all the cats. My phone does not stop. By the time I wake up in the morning, it was midnight last night when I finally caught the last cat. We need an extra staff, a vet staff, tech staff and stuff. Huge shortage everywhere, but we all agree Elk Grove is a great city to reside in and would all love to work also where we live. If we were to hire a vet on the budget, we may be able to get an extra vet to work in Elk Grove. Sacramento is short, but a lot of people don't want to work out in Sacramento. Since we're a beautiful city, let's make more positions for them where they live. The shelter is open to low-cost spay and neuter clinic, but unable to get many done due to only one vet and animal population growth due to lack of surgery space. Many are abandoning their pets left and right because of cost of food, surgery, medical bills, everything else they're paying for, groceries. No one can keep their pets anymore. An additional vet staff will help relieve the stress and burden our current one vet is already holding. Law enforcement, we put, can't think of the word, psych help for them because of all the stress that we have to endure. Vet staff need it too. They are killing cats left and right that are healthy. And I know they need that relief of having a second person take the position to relieve the burden. Even the people who work there are stressed. How does the shelter currently handle the feral stray population? They don't have a plan. They say, we'll reach out to a trapper. They don't hire trappers. It's all volunteer trappers. So they've contacted me on numerous occasions to try to trap some of the places, which is the one right across the street from them. 30 cats last year, it's probably 50 plus now. That's when I caught that injured cat along with another injured cat and 2 more. We had mass trapping option there. We can take 20 cats at one day. I'd get a bunch of trappers together, try to see who all we can trap and get at one time, but then they got cut off because we weren't getting the numbers. You have to introduce a program to staff to understand the program and how it works so that they can get used to doing it. I only had about 2 months to figure it out. Thank you guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Alan Vito, followed by Mark Graham. And Mark Graham is our final speaker unless somebody else submits a blue slip for public comment.
Hello.
Hello.
So I know I think I know all of you. I know most of you. And I'm here because of, we all, as we all know, one of our own, I guess I'm not really part of the city runnings, but I kind of want to feel like it. One of our own got in a little trouble. And me being a guy that owns a bar, that I'm very adamant about drinking and driving and how you conduct yourself when you are drinking. I come here to, and just like I told the young man already, is that you know, people make mistakes, and don't beat yourself up over it, Sergio. What you do is you be a better person because of it. And you already are. Why I backed you up and why I think you're a great council member is because of all the things I know that you've done. Other people have voiced the things that you've done, how you give your time to the Army National Guard, how you give your time to volunteer work, dude, throughout the community to help others. You need to do it 10 times more now to get the forgiveness, especially when this man's over here, because this man lost, you know the story. It's like the worst time something like this could happen for you or anybody in Elk Grove. And I just want to tell you, I'm the guy that made 1,000,001 bad choices. Thank God it never resulted in the loss of anybody's life. And thank God that didn't happen while you were driving, or I wouldn't be here. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, you're a good man, and you deserve people to stand behind you and walk with you through this. And I know that you could change a lot of people's minds on drinking and driving if that's what you want to put yourself out to do. And I think that you owe the community, you owe yourself, you owe your family, you owe me. I believed in you, and I still do. But buddy, you got to show people, you got to rise above, you got to talk to that man right there. You got to ask him, hey, what can I do as Sergio Robles to make this right with this community? And thank God, Sergio, that you're not dead and that nobody else is dead. And we just drove a lady home. My son just drove a lady home. I'm not going to say her name, but she's a very wealthy, wealthy lady in this community. Fell off the wagon of drinking, but she'd been not drinking for 2 years. She fell off. She was in my bar yesterday. It's kind of weird. And my son gave her a ride home, and in her car, and his girlfriend came and picked her up after we got to be in 7 o'clock at graduation for his brother. But dude, this happened around 6 o'clock. We just made it. But man, we got her home safe. She made the right choice. And that's what you got to do. You got to put yourself, well, you got to quit drinking is what I think you got to do. Tell you the honest God truth. And I'll tell people that. I'm not nobody's boss, but I'm going to tell you, take a breather. Concentrate on getting into this and getting people like this guy right here. Because I tell you that people don't like what you did. It's not good. But buddy, you are a good person. And you need to forgive yourself and step on through it. And I love
Thank
every
you.
one of you guys, just so you know. And Bobby, I don't want to make light of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Mark Graham.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a long time since I've addressed this council. Forever, well, at least in person, since the pandemic started. Mr. Brewer, I remember you from the school board, never seen you here. Mr. Robles, never seen you here.
Not school board,
Wasn't it?
Parks and Fire, CSD.
Okay, you're right. Yep, CSD, good. Anyway, all right. Couple things. I'm glad to see that the city is back to allowing visual aids during public comments, such as the Mendoza sisters used. And next time I am here, I will probably have a visual aid, and I'll send it to your city clerk 24 hours in advance. I'm curious, last time I was here, you did not have those big black iron gates at the parking lot. As you drive into the parking lot, there's some now that are straight ahead and to the right. They were not here before. Is this Fortress America? Are you trying to keep COVID out of the parking lot, or is this a response to terrorism? All right, I sent you an email. There was a little difficulty with the email, but hopefully you each received it. And it's about the council's ability, the council's authority, according to the Brown Act, to respond to questions and comments on items that are not on the agenda. I also mentioned this to your city attorney. It came out in a couple meetings in early 2020 that the council had a major misunderstanding on this point. At 2 different meetings, I made a question or comment on item not on the agenda during section 5 of the meeting, and one of the council members, who was Vice Mayor Detrick, spoke up and he said, Mr. Graham, this item is not on the agenda, and therefore, according to the Brown Act, Vice Mayor Detrick said, we cannot respond to you at all. Now, I have a ton of respect for Vice Mayor Detrick. I think he was the best person on the council at the time, and I thank him for a lot of his work. He was mistaken, and I'm sure you're well aware of this, Mr. Hobbs. Hopefully you've had a chance to review my email. And the fact is that there's a section of the Brown Act which I emailed to you today, and I also gave a copy for each of you of this letter, and it's right here on the letter. There are 7 specific ways in which you are authorized by the Brown Act to respond to questions and comments on items not on the agenda. You do not have to. The Brown Act does not command or order you to respond. But I believe, first of all, you have residents of this city, as you've heard tonight and as you hear at every council meeting, who have ideas and have recommendations, whether it's a policy being developed or one that needs to be developed, but people have ideas for what the city could do to be better. And you also have valuable information that could be valuable to your constituents about whatever the subject matter is. So when somebody comes to you and says, and asks you a question, or makes a comment that implicitly asks for information, and you have information and a response is possible and a response is appropriate and a response, and you want to give a response, I'm saying you can. You are authorized to. Please do not tell your constituents we cannot, and please do not fail to respond because of your misunderstanding of the Brown Act and thinking that you cannot.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Everybody wants to see it.
All right. That is our final speaker for public comment. So with that, we are going to go to item number 10, and that is council comments, reports, and future agenda items. I'll start to my left with our vice mayor.
Okay. Okay, I'll just say it. Look, I just want you to remember 3 things, Sergio, as you're going for a walk, as you're going on a run. I know in the military, you like to have the cadence, right? I'm gonna give you 3 things, please, to just think about on your walk. And the first thing is that trust is earned in teaspoons, but lost in buckets, okay? It's very, very difficult to bring that trust back, but it can be, okay? The second thing is it's the measure of a person is not that they fell. The measure is how they get back up. The measure is how they get better and what they do to address it. And then the third thing is, which we both know, although this was coined in about 2003 by members of the Navy, I believe it was, maybe the Marines, but embrace the suck. It's you'll get better through this, okay? So I'm not piling on. That's all I have to say on the topic. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Brewer.
I'm not going to go into a long speech. I support you. You were my friend before we got involved in all this. You're going to be my friend long after. You're a good man. And you've done a lot of good work in the 5 years I've known you. This is a stumbling block. We've all made mistakes. Hell, I've made mistakes. But we always find a way to get ourselves back up. And you're going to do it too. Because you have character and integrity and honor. And those are things that you hold dear and near. Those are things I hold near and dear. Those are the part of the foundations of trust, hard work, faith, integrity. We have those things in common. And those are things that I've held in common for a long, long time. I've carried them with me ever since my father died when he was driving home from work. He worked 2 shifts at Armstrong Tire, sold Amway, was doing a demonstration. And as he was driving home, someone high on Quaaludes and uppers ran his Toyota Corolla off the road on August 9th, 1978. And it's weird because you don't think you have deja vu when you're a kid, but I actually saw it happen while I was sleeping, and I thought it was a nightmare. And it stuck with me ever since, all the way down to the state sending my mom the bill to clean up the blood off the road. And that's why I took to heart what Vito said, thank God no one lost their lives, and thank God you're still here with us. Because you have the stuff, you have the great stuff, you have the it factor, and you're gonna make great off of it. You're gonna make, but it's gonna take baby steps. But do know this, I have your back. And if you need anything from me, you let me know. And also, Sacramento Public Library Authority meets tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Last week, we talked about the budget. This week, we're going to ratify that budget, and part of it's going to be to do some improvements for Sacramento area libraries, but also to make sure that we have money for the Elk Grove Library. Rod out.
Thank you, Rod, for sharing that. I know that's a painful memory for you. So I did make a statement yesterday to some media that reached out, and I'll try to sum it into my own words now without reading it verbatim, but I want to start off with, and I want to thank you, Mr. Vito, for coming up and speaking so passionately. I care for you deeply. I have always been one of your greatest champions, your greatest supporters. But today I also need to be a critic. And the statements that I made yesterday, early morning to the media, was in my deep, profound disappointment of you choosing to get behind the wheel when there are so many options available to all of us on our devices, be it with Uber, Lyft, getting a car, a cab, calling a friend. So it started with that deep disappointment and anger, with then followed by a sense of relief that you were okay and that nobody else was hurt. Our community is still mourning the loss of our beloved motor officer that lost his life to a drunk driver. And I know the situation is very different, but it could have been the same. So let this be a teachable moment. I know and pray and believe that this is a teachable moment. I know that you're a man of God and faith and family and friends. Turn to all of those. But I also know the incredible bravery and the resilience that's there, the man that you are, the man that we supported. I appreciated that you took responsibility immediately. So that also speaks volumes to me. But today, you know, I just can't help but think about our beloved officer. So I know something that was shared with all of us, and I'm going to share mine with you, just so that you have an extra one. Keep it in the car. And that is our patch here from Elk Grove Police, number 281. I'm sharing mine with you so that you have it in your vehicle and in your heart. I know you have your other one too, but here's an extra one. That our actions have consequences, and thank you for stepping up and owning yours. And with that, we are all here for you, to support you and help you. We believe in you. I know that you believe in integrity and service. That is who you are. And I know that to the core. So I'm passing this on to you.
I sit here before you today with a heavy heart. And deeply regret. And I apologize for the incident that occurred this past Saturday. I am acutely aware that my actions and poor judgment have let you all down. I fully acknowledge the gravity of my mistake. I was cited for a misdemeanor, driving under the influence, and there's no excuse for my actions. None whatsoever. To the officers involved, thank you for handling the situation with extreme professionalism. And I'm sorry I put you in that situation. I want to apologize to my family, my friends, supporters, and our entire Elk Grove community. To my colleagues on the City Council, to all the staff, to the City Manager, Police Chief Bobby Davis, and most importantly, to the entire Elk Grove Police Department. I am ashamed and deeply sorry for any pain or hurt that I have caused, especially given our police department's recent loss. I wholeheartedly accept the responsibility of my actions and their negative impact on trust and your faith in me. I am fully committed to making amends and taking necessary steps to becoming a better person. I want to emphasize that this incident in question does not define who I am, nor does it reflect the values that I hold dear to me. I have always strived to make this community better, to have honor, integrity, and a genuine desire to make a positive difference. It's the reason why I got into public service. It's the reason why I serve in the Army National Guard. And I fell short. I am sorry for tarnishing our reputation, for hurting our community. I am profoundly disappointed in losing a distrust. I pray and hope to make amends and to be able to build off little by little and earn your trust again. To every citizen of Elk Grove, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. I recognize I let you down, and I deeply regret it. Please understand that I'm committed to serving. I know your concerns are in the forefront of my mind. They are. And I pledge to be a better representative, for all of you, for I will use this as a learning experience. And I thank God that I or no one was hurt. I pray that we will make amends. And I'm sorry.
We'll take a 5-minute recess, everyone. Yeah. All right, we will reconvene our meeting. And for the record, if we can, if the city clerk can acknowledge that Councilmember Suen is present.
Indeed, we have a full council and Councilmember Suen is present.
All right, so next item is our city manager's report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, Jason Behrman, the City Manager. A few items to report on this evening. First of all, we had a successful pitch event for our startup program this last week, where the city awarded prizes to various startups in the region, including our very own Adload Technologies from Elk Grove, who won a $2,500 prize for the best pitch for an Elk Grove-based startup. Our company offers digital billboard advertising and semi-trucks that can be geographically tracked and programmed for special messages in real time as they travel highways across the country. So thanks to our economic development team in partnership with Explore Elk Grove for making it a great event. Also, for everybody, our Elk Grove Aquatic Center opens for the swim year this Saturday, May 27th. Operating hours for each location, pricing are on the CSD's website. Looking forward to getting into swim season. There's a pet food drive underway to help Elk Grove Animal Services and the Elk Grove Food Bank refill their pet food pantries to support local families in need, seniors, and unhoused community members. Drop off pet food donations at City Hall, Elk Grove Food Bank, Elk Grove Animal Shelter, or at one of 2 Pets to Go locations in the city through the month of May to lend your support for this important project. The city will host a ceremony to celebrate the State of Pride Month with the community next Thursday, June 1st at 9 a.m. in front of City Hall. We invite everyone to attend as we raise the Progress Pride flag in front of City Hall for display throughout the month of June. Animal Services team will be hosting a pet wellness clinic in partnership with the Elk Grove Food Bank next Friday, June 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This 5-hour event will serve the pets of unhoused individuals and seniors aged 65 and older. Animal Services will have a vet on site at the food bank and provide free microchips, vaccines, wellness exams, pet food, and pet care kits for eligible residents. The next installment of the city's new Fridays in the Grove event series will be held next Friday, June 2nd at the Old Town Plaza. Join us for activities starting at 7 p.m. and a showing of the classic film, The Goonies. This is a free family event. Details are available on the city's website. The city is taking steps to implement the Connected Elk Grove Smart City Plan. A public survey is now open, asking residents for their input on the development of data privacy principles that ensure that sensitive information about Elk Grove residents is protected and used only for specific purposes. The survey will close on Sunday, June 5th. And finally, in accordance with the city's holiday schedule, the City Hall will be closed next Monday, May 29th, in observance of Memorial Day. Waste collection and public safety service will be provided as normal. And that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
All right, thank you for that report. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you, sir. Our next item is our consent calendar item. I'll open up the public comment opportunity. I don't see anyone signed up. I'll close the public comment opportunity and look for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Madam Mayor, if there is no objections, I'd like to move items 7.1 through 7.16.
Is that the bulk of the
all
consent
of
calendar?
them?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to be sure there wasn't something getting pulled. So
Okay.
I would second that.
All right, do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We will move on to our next item, item 8.1.
And 8.1 is a public hearing to consider a resolution confirming the Laguna West Service Area fiscal year 2023-24 annual report and ordering the levy for the Laguna West Service Area, formerly County Service Number 5, for fiscal year 2023-24.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm Renee Attar, Finance Analyst for the city. I'm not here for annexations this time. I'm here this evening to present the Laguna West Service Area Levy. I request your consideration to adopt a resolution confirming the Laguna West Service Area Annual Report and ordering the levy for the upcoming fiscal year 23-24. Some background information. The Laguna West Service Area was originally established in 1992 by the County of Sacramento, where it was known as County Service Area, or CSA 5. The city of Elk Grove assumed administration in 2003 when the Laguna West area was annexed into the city and became known as the Laguna West Service Area. The service area provides miscellaneous services to the Laguna West area, such as street sweeping, road maintenance, drainage service, and administration. Here's a map of the service area. The area is approximately bounded by Laguna Boulevard and Elk Grove Boulevard and I-5 and Franklin Boulevard. And this map hasn't changed since the service area was created by the county in 1992. The Sacramento County Board of Supervisors adopted ordinance number 1418, which established the service charge allocation formulas and also the procedure for collecting CSA 5 service charges on the property tax roll. To levy the service charges, the governing jurisdiction, which was formerly the county, but now it's the city, must confirm an annual written report detailing the individual parcels and their respective service charges. The formation documents establish the basis for annual increases. Since the levy is being assessed at the maximum rate, the levy cannot be increased. Staff recommends maintaining current service levels to provide an adequate revenue stream for projects and services, to maintain sufficient reserves for future projects, and to maintain consistency with the fiscal year 23-24 budget document. Staff's recommendation is to adopt the resolution for Laguna West Service Area for fiscal year 23-24, and which will confirm the annual report and order the levy. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you for that. I'll declare the public hearing is now open and open it up for public comment opportunity. No one is signed up, so I'll close the public comment opportunity and declare the public hearing is closed. If there are no questions, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Next up, item 9.1.
So I'm not done yet. Okay. So this presentation is to present the community facilities districts and assessment districts in the city of Elk Grove and their new rates for fiscal year 23-24. I request your consideration of them and to adopt a resolution to continue to levy these taxes and assessments for the upcoming fiscal year. The taxes and assessments that I will be presenting are not new taxes and assessments. They have all existed for a number of years. The city administers 7 special tax districts. They provide funding for infrastructure improvements, which may be bonded or not, police services, maintenance services, street maintenance, and street lighting maintenance. The funding is planned to match the service needs of each district. To maintain that alignment and to include future projects, the rates are gradually increased annually. Here's just a quick list of the current 7 districts in the city. There are 5 community facilities districts, also known as CFDs, or Mello-Roos taxes. As you can see, some of the CFDs have both infrastructure and services components. And then there are 2 assessment districts. Taking a further look at these districts, there are 3 CFDs with an infrastructure component located in and known as East Franklin, Poppy Ridge, and Laguna Ridge. These CFDs are bonded, which means that they are supported by debt. They fund the construction of new improvements and projects such as roadways, sewer, drainage, and public projects, capital improvement projects, which you'll hear about later this evening as well. Recent projects include the District 56 facilities, the Nature Preserve, Civic Center, Community Center, and Aquatic Center, and the Camera Road improvements. These CFDs do have a sunset date per the formation documents for each. Looking at the service districts, there are 4 CFDs that are service districts, with 2 for police services and 2 for maintenance services. CFD 2003-1, Poppy Ridge Police Services, CFD 2003-2, Police Services throughout the city, CFD 2005-1, Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services for maintenance services within that district only, and then CFD 2006-1 for maintenance services throughout the rest of the city. And that particular district has 17 tax zones, which project is dependent on how much maintenance it requires, and that's determined at the time of the annex into the district. There are also 2 assessment districts that are considered service districts, Street Maintenance District number 1, which has 5 geographic zones throughout the city, and Street Lighting Maintenance District 1, which has 2 geographic zones throughout the city. The goal is to fund ongoing authorized services, police, street lights, landscape of public parks, trails, channels, and other open spaces. These districts are not bonded and are levied in perpetuity. Just a quick summary of all of the different special tax districts. When each district and, if applicable, zones were created, formation documents were drafted and adopted as well. They provide guidance on how each district is assessed, the levies, and provide guidance on the rates, how the rates increase. This table shows all of the districts and what the basis for each of the increases are, along with the percentage increase and the dollar amount increase on a single home over last year. East Franklin, Poppy Ridge Facilities, and Street Lighting Maintenance District number 1, Zone 1, do not have any increases per the formation documents. Poppy Ridge Services and CFD 2003-2 Police Services are increased by the lesser of the CPI, or 5%. The CPI increase was 4.19% this year, so those rates increased by that. Laguna Ridge Facilities is increased by a flat rate of 2%. Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services is increased by the CPI of 4.19%. CFD 2006-1 Maintenance Services is increased by the greater of the CPI, or 2%, so it increased by the CPI. All 5 zones of Street Maintenance District number 1 are increased by the Engineering News Records Construction Cost Index, or CCI. Those rates increased by 1.56%. And then Zone 2 of the Street Lighting District, Maintenance District, increased by the CPI. So in the far right column, I've provided the current percentage that the city levies each district of its maximum rate. With the exception of CFD 2005-1 Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services and Street Maintenance District 1, Zones 1, 3, and 5, all of the levies will be assessed at 100% of the maximum rate in fiscal year 23-24. CFD 2005-1 Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services was levied at 75% of the maximum levy in the current fiscal year. Staff is recommending increasing the levy to 80% of the maximum levy in the upcoming fiscal year. The city has added new facilities and new parks, again, most notably on District 56, which only opened in the last few years. With that, and as the city continues to add facilities and more parks, the maintenance costs have increased and will continue to do so. So this rate will go up gradually in the coming years to mirror the growth of these expenses. This fund is also deficit spending since the maintenance expenses are in excess of the tax revenues. All zones of Street Maintenance District number 1 were levied at 92% of the maximum levy in the current fiscal year. For fiscal year 23-24, staff is recommending maintaining the levy for zones 1, 3, and 5 at 92% of the maximum levy, as the fund balances for those zones are healthy enough to support the lower assessment and its street maintenance services. Staff is also recommending increasing the levy for zones 2 and 4 to 100% of the maximum levy, as the fund balances for those zones require additional resources to support their street maintenance measures, maintenance services. Staff's recommendation is to maintain current service levels to provide an adequate revenue stream for projects and services, to maintain sufficient reserves for future projects, and to maintain stable assessment levels for residents. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution to continue to levy the special taxes and assessments for the 7 special tax districts for fiscal year 23-24. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you for that. At this time, I'll open up the public comment opportunity. Don't see anyone signed up. I'll close the public comment opportunity. If there are no questions, I will look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, 9.2.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Joseph Daggerman, Associate Planner and Development Services. The item before you this evening is the Pleasant Grove Estates project. As you are aware, the project consists of a rezone of approximately 31.4 gross acres from the agricultural residential 5-acre minimum to the agricultural residential 2-acre minimum, a tentative subdivision map and design review for subdivision layout to subdivide the existing parcel into 14 single-family parcels of at least 2 gross acres in size, 1 detention basin, and 1 remainder lot, as well as a tree removal permit for the removal of 1 valley oak tree. No home construction is proposed at this time, but any future home construction would be subject to the city's climate action plan. This item appeared before you at the April 26th City Council meeting. At that meeting, the council received information from staff and heard from the applicant as well as members of the public. A majority of that concerns that were raised during that meeting were about the project drainage and if and how the project would exacerbate the pre-development drainage conditions located downstream of the project. After the close of public comments at the April 26th meeting, the City Council continued the item to tonight to allow staff to gather additional information, report on the pre-development drainage conditions downstream, and provide new information related to the project drainage. At this time, I will invite Public Works, who will provide an overview of the drainage conditions downstream.
Thank you, Joseph. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Jeff Werner, your Public Works Director. As Joseph mentioned, I'm here to give an overview of the existing drainage conditions in the vicinity of the proposed Pleasant Grove Estates project. So we heard the concerns at the prior hearing, as Councilmember Suen termed the legacy drainage issues and what I would characterize as existing known conditions in the area. The investigation by staff included a look at the existing system design and layout, existing versus historical conditions, the maintenance services currently provided by the city, fees collected to support those maintenance services, potential improvements to the system, and a look at the Elk Grove Municipal Code, specifically as it relates to property owner responsibilities for maintaining drainage ways and keeping them clear. First, a quick look at the area topography and the drainage system. The area flows west to Laguna Creek. The drainage in the area flows west to Laguna Creek. The area is very flat and consists mostly of clay soils. What this amounts to is that the area is subject to standing water. In fact, the area immediately adjacent to the proposed project site is encumbered by a floodplain easement, which designates the area subject to flooding during the passage of stormwaters. So further indicating that the standing water and flooding, localized flooding, are known conditions in the area. The drainage infrastructure in the area, as well as the rural area in general, consists mostly of small, shallow ditches. There are roadside ditches. There are also ditches that run between and across properties. And there are also several detention basins, both public and private, that help add capacity and store water during storm events. It's important to note that this is not a designed system, and what I mean by that is that the system was never designed to carry any specific storm capacity. The improvements throughout the urban areas of the city and new development are required to carry the 100-year storm event. This has no specific storm event capacity. That's why you see these floodplain easements throughout the area. Again, these are known conditions. These areas are subject to flooding during large storm events. I think the recent rains that we've had serve as a reminder of what really happens out here during normal and heavy rain years. The observed rainfall totals that we gathered from our rain gauge at Bond and Waterman Road showed that we had significant events above the average, or significant rains above average over the past couple of years, even including in October 2021, where we had a rain event that was 320% above the average for that month. Despite all of that, we had no reports of structural damage, which indicates to us that the system is operating generally pretty well. Looking at existing versus historical conditions, we noted that they're not significantly different compared to the historic conditions pre-incorporation. What I mean by that is that the ditches in the area aren't significantly different in shape or size. They're generally the same as they have been since the city incorporated. Also want to note that anecdotal evidence and testimony from residents suggests that standing water and localized flooding, again, is known to occur in the area since before incorporation. And I want to provide you with some examples of these existing versus historical conditions. So we were able to gather photos from 2007, comparing them to 2003, showing these ditches, and I don't mind if you're not impressed by the ditches out here. Again, these are very shallow, small ditches that are intended to capture all of the stormwater. Most of the stormwater is held on the properties, as I mentioned. So here's an example of one ditch on Rancho Court, another roadside ditch along Bader Road, another along Bader Road, again, substantially the same shape and size. Some new development has occurred, which likely resulted in the clearing of the vegetation. Pleasant Grove School Road. This is Bond Road. You can see that this ditch is very much the same as it has been. And some more roadside ditches along Bond Road. As far as the maintenance service that we provide in the area, we provide a combination of program maintenance and reactive maintenance. Our program maintenance consists of annual weed abatement in roadside ditches. We have a 10-year program for clearing roadside ditches of any major debris, volunteer trees, et cetera. We do only maintain from the top of ditch on the roadside to the top of ditch on the backside, so we don't maintain anything that was planted beyond the back or top side of the ditch. And then reactive maintenance includes emergency storm responses, responding to resident concerns. We meet with residents regularly, help educate them on the municipal code as well as our maintenance practices, and we do repair damage to roadside ditches. As you can see in the photo there, we had a washout that was repaired by Public Works. The 2-year average annual expenses in the area are about $300,000 each year. In looking at the drainage fees in the area, and please forgive this map, it's an old map we need to update. There are many more many more areas in the city that have annexed into Zone 2 of our drainage fee, which is broken up into the 2 zones. And then the purple outline is indicative of the area that we surveyed, which is really the shed associated with the project. There are more areas, or there's more area to the rural area. This doesn't depict it all. But nonetheless, the point remains that the rural area is subject to the Zone 1 drainage fees, which collects about $11.68 per parcel every 2 months. That means residents in the area are paying about $70 per year into Zone 1, into our drainage fee. We also collect a portion of the 1% property taxes that supports our drainage fee. The exact amount from these 1,500 some odd parcels is unknown at the time. We're currently investigating that further. But we estimate that if 5% of the total revenue, we think that's a conservative estimate, the total revenue is about $2 million, we would estimate that $100,000 is coming in from the rural area into our drainage fund. So in total, we collect about $170,000 from the parcels in the area, and we expend about $300,000 in maintenance services. So we exceed the amount collected, and improvements to the system and or increased levels of service would likely require consideration of a fee increase. The Elk Grove Municipal Code helps keep those fees low by placing some of the requirements to keep the ditches clear on the property owners. Chapter 13 states that it's unlawful for any person to fill or otherwise obstruct the drainage ways, watercourse, channel, or other. And it also requires that property owners keep these areas clear, which means that they need to remove their vegetation and other things that may be obstructing the channel to keep them free flowing. I'd like to provide you some examples of what we have observed. Now, mind you, these examples have not been verified as to the legality of the improvements or whether or not they've been permitted under our municipal code. So further investigation would be needed, but we thought it was important to note that there are some private improvements that could be affecting the drainage system and its performance overall. So you can see some examples of some ponds that are collecting water that could be creating a backflow condition. We see some fill improvements, whether it's baseball diamonds, fences, other. And then another example of a pond connected to some of our tributaries to Laguna Creek. We also have some examples of property owner maintenance practices, including some poor examples, which would include anything from crushed culverts or filling in of roadside ditches with private improvements, including trees, cobble, etc. Failure to remove litter, debris, fences, and other things that are in the drainage channels that are certainly not installed by the city or haven't been migrated or transported there through stormwater. This is another example where vegetation has been allowed to overgrow into the channel. And again, according to the municipal code, that would be a property owner responsibility, as these are private trees and private improvements. Some good examples of property owner maintenance includes folks who regularly maintain their roadside ditches, as well as the ditches flowing through their properties. You can see the intent here with folks keeping those ditches very clear. So in conclusion, what we found was there was little concern with existing conditions compared to historical conditions. We found no substantial alterations or degradation of the drainage system as it stood before incorporation. There's no evidence of increased property damage as a result of the city's maintenance practices. The recent heavy rains, again, are a reminder of what we can expect in the rural area. Costs for maintenance services we provide exceed the amount collected from residents in the area. And again, improvements to the system would warrant a look at potentially increasing fees in the area. And then investigation and potential enforcement of the Elk Grove Municipal Code could result in improved performance of the drainage system through the removal of any illegal private improvements or obstructions, as well as proper maintenance and removal of landscape debris and litter. That concludes my presentation. I am ready for any further direction or questions.
All right, thank you. So typically, when we have a project presentation, we always allow the applicant to speak. I don't see that in my notes. Is there a reason why we didn't have that this time?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, we still have a part of the presentation to
Okay, got
finish.
it. Yeah, go ahead for Jeff. Jeff,
Yeah.
we have a question.
Yeah,
You can answer it from there.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Jeff, the easement, is it, who is the easement to? Is it to the, between the individual property owners, or is it to the city, or?
Yeah, it doesn't specify. It's just an easement for the purposes of designating the area. It's a perpetual easement for designating the area subject to flooding during the passage of stormwaters. So there's no specific beneficiary other than it's an indication that these properties are subject to flooding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now going to the project drainage. Staff has re-reviewed the preliminary drainage report and found it to be consistent with city standards. Shown on your screen are exhibits displaying the existing and proposed hydrology for the project, which also can be found in your staff report. As discussed in the preliminary drainage study, the outflow resulting from the proposed project will be less than the outflow of the existing conditions on site. In terms of public comments that we've received since the April 26th City Council meeting, there was a community meeting held on May 17th, which was hosted by the applicant and allowed for members of the public to hear and voice their concerns about the project. Based on the meeting, the applicant has agreed to the following. The drainage ditches on the east and the west side of the development are to remain. As part of their HOA, the HOA will require that all exterior light fixtures shall be fully shielded so as to not affect the light pollution. The HOA has already been conditioned to maintain the swales in the basin. Additionally, the HOA will require screening of any above-ground equipment within the required setback areas to aid in noise and visual impacts for the neighbors. They will ensure that any screening along the neighboring property lines will not include any toxic plants so as to protect the neighbors' animals. And the lots that are bordering the Pleasant Grove Elementary School will be required to install a minimum 5-foot wide by 10-foot tall screening border of plants and trees along the fence line within 6 months of obtaining building permits for the custom homes. Staff did receive some comments about the CEQA determination, which we've consulted with our CEQA consultant. Based on our consultation, staff offers the following responses. The general plan and environmental impact report analysis used growth projections based on general planned land use designation, which allows lots for 2 gross acres or larger. So this project, as a reminder, is proposing 14 new single-family lots of 2 gross acres in size. So this project is consistent with the general plan designation. Groundwater impacts were analyzed as part of the general plan EIR. The project doesn't change these impact conclusions and is within the scope of that EIR. And then finally, there was a comment about the wells. Nearby wells, approximately 1 to 1.5 miles from the project site, are showing either no changes in trends in decreasing levels and or is showing improving groundwater levels. Thus, there are no project or parcel specific impacts related to groundwater. So the project is, no further environmental review is required for the project under CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15183. The project is consistent with the general plan environmental impact report. So tonight, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the resolution finding no further environmental review is required under CEQA pursuant to State CEQA guidelines section 15183, adopt an ordinance approving a rezone from the agricultural residential 5-acre to the agricultural residential 2-acre designation, and adopting the resolution approving the tentative subdivision map, design review for subdivision layout, and the tree removal permit for the Pleasant Grove Estates project, PLNG 22-040, based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval included in the draft resolution. This concludes my presentation. I am available to answer any questions. Staff is also here as well as the applicant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So typically, we allow the applicant to come after the presentation, so I'm assuming it's just an omission?
From the item that we saw on April 26, that was a public hearing, and from our norms and procedures, that is where we have the process where the applicant has the opportunity with no speaker time limit, both before general public comment, but also after public comment on the item.
Okay.
On April 26, we did close the public hearing, but asked this item to return back, so it is returning to you as a regular item.
Got it.
I do know that the applicant representative did sign up to speak on the item and would be available for questions at the council's
All right,
discretion.
very good.
So Mayor, that having been said, I'd suggest you invite the applicant up first and you can hear. I think you were probably going to do that. Maybe you weren't.
I wasn't, but I would like to. That's a good, I think it.
Just a suggestion, so
Yeah.
you can hear from the applicant.
Will they be allowed to come back?
At your discretion.
Yeah.
You can invite them
Okay,
back.
well,
Sure.
what I don't want is, if there's any questions that come up, I want the ability to answer those
Council
questions.
certainly has the option to invite.
So,
Yeah,
okay, very
you
good.
can do that.
So I will go ahead and invite the applicant if you want to make some introductory remarks, and then I will go on to some of our public speakers. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the extra time. I just want to say thank you to, I guess, open by saying thank you to all the staff, city council members, everyone that's been out, spent an exorbitant amount of time talking with neighbors, talking with us, and really doing their homework. There's, with this project, there's been a lot of what I personally deem as misinformation that's been put out there. And I think you guys have done an excellent job at really digging into that and making sure that you guys are understanding what the project involves. And so I appreciate your time and energy put into that. As mentioned in the last planning commission, Mr. Sewin asked some very insightful questions of staff, which I think staff did a very good job at answering, and again in the last month or so has done a very good job at digging into even more, which addresses a lot of the concerns, in my opinion, that the neighbors have had regarding drainage, traffic, and other things, and clearly pointed out that this project doesn't impact those in a negative way, and in fact impacts them in a positive way. in regards to the drainage. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things to discuss as people come up and make their comments. So at this moment, do you guys have any questions for me?
All right. Go ahead. Councilmember Brewer.
I know, I think everything has been laid out in the presentation by Joseph, and I know in the meeting last week, you and the property owners had given assurances on some conditions of approval. But I know there's been a couple of things that have surfaced over the last like 72 hours about, one is putting up a berm behind the elementary school. And then another one dealing with the trees issue. And I know you mentioned that there is a game plan for the trees and how to mitigate on that. Has there been, could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I know you said it was pretty clear, but definitely want to like share on what those assurances are.
Yeah, regarding the tree?
Yeah.
First, okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity on that. So tree number 3905 is the one proposed for removal. It's a number 2 on the health scale. To make sure everyone's understanding and on the same page of what that means, a level 1 is essentially falling down on its own. Level 5 is very healthy, right? Level 2 would be, this is what the arborist in their report states in general what a level 2 means. So not specific exactly to this tree, but in general what a number 2 means. It says the tree has major problems. If the option is taken to preserve the tree, additional evaluation to identify if health or structure can be improved or correct arboricultural work, including but not limited to pruning, cabling, bracing, bolting, guying, spraying, mistletoe removal, vertical mulching, fertilization, etc. Additionally, risks should be evaluated as a tree rated 2 may have structural conditions which indicate there is a high likelihood of some type of failure. Trees rated 2 should be removed if these additional evaluations cannot be performed, or will not be performed, sorry. So that's a general description of what number 2 means. Specific to the tree, it discusses the topping that SMUD has continued to do to that tree because it sits directly underneath the SMUD power lines, which weakens the branches. So the risk of that tree seems somewhat obvious that in a big storm, you could have a branch blow down, a tree blow down, you knock out power, heaven forbid the live power lines fall down and cause further damage to individuals or other properties. So that would be why it's a number 2 rated tree. It is a 20-inch tree, and by the requirement of replacement, you have a couple options. You can pay a fee, which we don't want to do. We'd prefer to plant trees instead on the site to ensure that the site itself stays beautiful. It is if you're planting 15-gallon trees, it's required to plant 1 tree for every 2 inches of tree diameter. So we would plant 10 new trees in the vicinity on our property to help beautify the area and to replace the 1 tree. So my conclusion is that this is a big win for the development in the area. You get 10 beautiful trees instead of 1 tree that's never fully going to succeed unless SMUD decides to remove their power lines at some point, which I don't think any of us anticipate happening. Further on that, the tree root system is defined by the arborist as sometimes 2 to 3 times the radius of the canopy, or 1 to 1.5 times the height of a tree. So some of the argument from neighbors has been that there's this ample space for a road to go to a different spot, and you can leave this tree that's already not doing well alone. When you consider the root system and you consider the SMUD poles, for the road, you need about 75 feet. And after you consider all the other factors, there's less than 75 feet in those spots that the other neighbors are considering as optional. So again, I give credit to staff and to our project engineer. They've spent a lot of time reviewing this. They've gone back and forth. They've looked at different layout options, and they've come to the conclusion that this is the best option. We are grateful for the tree mitigation option, as we think that's a great solution to the problem.
Thanks. And I had one additional question. And I know for a lot of of the houses, a lot of the properties in the rural community. Many of the residents have held tried and true to the right to farm.
Sure.
Is this one of the options that would be reserved for any of the homeowners or property owners that wish to build their properties within Pleasant Grove Estates?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would welcome it. That would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Well, I'm going to go on to our public comments, starting with Lynn Jackson, followed by Suzanne Pecci.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Lynn Jackson, and I reside in Elk Grove on Bond Road. Just north of my property line is tributary 3 for Laguna Creek, which is not just a ditch, it's a tributary. This tributary is where the drainage from Pleasant Grove Estates will empty into. The developer has indicated that we will have no further encroachment of runoff on our property from this development. That is simply not true. The 1.4 to 1.6 acre lots will be covered in at least 15,000 square feet of impervious build-out. Houses, mother-in-law homes, pools, driveways, 3-car garages, etc. At this time, there is less than 1% of imperviousness on this property, and yet there is still significant runoff, whether from winter rains or irrigation. The area at the back of this property remains wet and muddy year-round. Based on the developer's flawed hydrology report, thinking this small pond, even with the swales, will hold all the water created from this subdivision is ludicrous given the amount of impervious structures going onto the property. The city has addressed CEQA only within the project parameters and has not addressed the full impact of the project under the original intent of CEQA pertaining to the overall impact on adjacent lands. The California Environmental Quality Act was written to protect all phases of the environment. CEQA was set up as a guide for any changes that are made to the environment. It was put in place to protect from negative impacts, whether addressing air quality, wildlife, watershed, rivers, people, agricultural land, etc. Up until recently, this area has been primarily agricultural for many years. This project does not fall within the original parameters of CEQA. Both the state and some counties have taken an excellent vehicle for protecting the environment and changed the original intent of certain sections to fit their wants and financial needs, this project being one of them. The impact of Pleasant Grove Estates on its neighbors will have a massive negative effect unless this council goes forward with conditions of approval to protect the immediate neighbors and those living downstream. I implore you to please think about protecting the long-term residents and their properties as well as their lifestyles. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Suzanne Pecci, followed by Jerry Jackson.
For the record, my name is Suzanne Pecci, and I am a longtime resident in the rural area. I am also in the flood evacuation zone and have been every year during extreme weather events. And I find kind of the dismissive arguments or statements by staff of conditions in the rural area as being inaccurate. I understand that you do have a flood and drainage program, but I'd really like to see where you came into my neighborhood every 10 years and cleared ditches, whether even staff has responded to a recent complaint about a neighbor that has filled in a retention basin of over an acre and filled in their ditches and trying to keep floodwaters and upstream waters off their land. I disagree that in this project, however, staff has failed to provide the documentation that does in fact state that this is an infill streamlined project exempt from CEQA. And I would base that on Lynn Jackson's previous comments. I'm really concerned that the proposed zoning change allowing 2 gross acres as acceptable for wells and septic have not been evidently studied in this project. And
While you talk about water levels, nobody on staff has related any of the comments to water quality, which is certainly even a larger problem for the area, for the people on domestic wells. While many of the jurisdictions in California require a 2-acre minimum, there are jurisdictions in Solano County and Santa Cruz that require 2.5 acres as suitable parcels for a well and septic. Although I have done a public records request of the city for documents regarding how this was arrived at as being a safe option for this community, 2 gross acres, none of the letters or documents or phone calls or emails that would have been between the city and the county were provided relative to any variances that will have to be enacted in order to provide for well and septic on 2-acre gross properties. In this project, one as small as 1.4 acres. Nothing has been revealed. So I really feel that you should not vote to go forward with this tentative map. There are inconsistencies within the documents relative to the 2 minimum acre size, and I think this needs to go back to staff, back to the community for more study, CEQA, and input. Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you. Next up is Jerry Jackson, followed by Dale Imperato.
Thank you, Mayor, council members for allowing me to speak. As I've stated on several previous occasions, it is my belief that the drainage study for this project is greatly underestimated. The enhanced runoff from this project will not be retained on site as the developer maintains. Current drainage capacity downstream will be exceeded and will make portions of adjacent property unusable. In other words, your approval of this project will in effect create an inverse condemnation for downstream property owners. I request that you delay the approval of this project until adequate drainage can be developed that will not impinge on downstream property owners' use of their land. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Dale Imperato, followed by Dennis Albiani.
Good evening. I'm Dale Imperato. I live on Bond Road. So I have heard several of the city council members say to me, how do we make this a win-win situation? Recently, we had a meeting with the developer. It became very clear by the end of the meeting that the developer was not going to compromise on any of his items whatsoever. That's not a win-win situation. That's a win-lose situation. And those losing are the immediate neighbors being affected, residents that have been in Elk Grove for 30-plus years. I believe that you all received a copy of an email that was sent to Rick Soares by the developer, stating that if Rick wanted less than 14 lots, then he could pay the developer the $400,000 of lost income. My response is, if the developer wants a year-round wet cesspool of rotting vegetation and mosquitoes, referred to as the retention basin, next to my property, then he can pay me for the devaluation of the worth of my property. I think that's a win-win situation, and the same goes for the devaluation of Rick Soares' property. Both sides must give in this process, or it's simply supporting the greed of a developer over supporting the well-established long-term residents of Elk Grove. This evening, the 5 of you have an opportunity to correct this. We understand that we will probably not get net 2-acre lots. But just because the developer is following all the rules, it doesn't mean that this is a good project for this area. The right decision is what is best for the rural Elk Grove, not because it's somebody's following the rules. We want a win-win situation here. That means both sides have to give up something. We want a 25-foot setback, and that includes a 25-foot setback for the retention basin. The conditions of approval stating that the setback is dedicated only to non-poisonous screening vegetation with no equipment or buildings in that area. I think that if a cesspool retention basin directly touches a neighbor's property, and it will be touching mine, that violates CEQA. I think conditions of approval should also require that the retention basin be maintained and mosquito abatement be started and maintained. Also, that it should be required that it has a sturdy fence around it for the security of the neighbors and the residents. The conditions of approval are requested because that gives the neighbors the authority to be able to enforce it if it's not enforced. I also think that soil testing should be completed prior to approval. The current drainage system is based on the soil being San Joaquin loam, but it isn't, it's 45% clay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up is Dennis Albiani. And Eric Nuttall, you're the final speaker. If there's anybody else, please submit a card.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It would help if there was a picture of the map, but that's neither here nor there. We can talk about it in the area. Dennis Albiani on behalf of myself and my wife. Fortunately, my wife could not be here tonight. She has some duties with the school board I think you're many aware of. I want to compliment the developer and his representative. They were very responsive to us, and it was good interactions. And I believe, I haven't seen this, I just saw it from the report, that the berm that was discussed and interacted with is accepted, if I'm not mistaken. It seems that's the first time I've seen it up there, which was great. So that makes my speech shorter. Okay, so the interaction's been great, the communication's been great. Was one reference to us as possibly being NIMBYs, but I'd like to coin something today that we're actually IMBYs. If in our backyard, if in my backyard, then we got to follow the guidelines. And I think that's where we came up a little bit short in the staff report and some of the findings that the staff has provided. You have a requirement, when they're removing the tree to make the findings, that's a requirement. And the findings, the first one says, the tree was sick. Eric talked about that as well. I don't know that it's sick, but yes, the power lines are there and they're going to be there, and that's remaining. The second one was the rural, maintaining the rural aspects, and I don't think that's actually achievable in this instance. So the findings are a little weak, and they need a little review. But what that means is one of the areas where I think the staff report kind of comes in a little short, and that's where if the thing was up, is the tree 3903. So when you drive up the driveway, the road, it's a road, and I think when you see the map,
Can we
excuse me,
get
yeah.
the map up?
Yeah.
Well,
We'll pause your time. So
Sure,
it's
yeah,
not
that's
running
fine.
the clock.
Yeah.
And add 5 seconds back. If we can get that up.
it's okay if it doesn't. I can explain it. I think 24 is, in your staff report, is an adequate map. There's probably others. Yeah, whatever. Not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this map. Because you can see where the road is and the
Got it.
tree line. It should be up above it. Well, I looked at it. I can explain it. It's pretty straightforward.
Do we want to proceed, or are we pulling it up?
I don't,
30
it,
seconds.
Mr. Elzayani, does your mouse work on that document? Maybe you can point to the tree you're talking
Sure. So you got 3903 is a tree of local concern, or whatever the proper term is. And
All
so,
right, so we can start the clock, sorry.
yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. The roadmap goes right through it, if you look at your stuff, and the not goes right next to it, excuse me, and the tree line and the drip line goes over the road. And then when you look at where the ditches are, it's going to go right through the root zone. And so I think the staff report does not address the impacts on 3903. And so that's one of the issues. I think, so we talk a lot about 3905, you're gonna remove it, not remove it, whatever. But 3903 is another tree of local concern, about 50 inches around circumference, and that one is not addressed by where the road's located. You could do the road location on the west side of the property. You do have to change the pole. You'd have to miss another tree, but that moving power poles is routine. It's fairly done in most developments. It's not a big deal. It does have a cost. And then you would have to add about 100 feet of road on, and that's a cost. I get that, I understand, I respect that. But those are options that don't seem to have been well reviewed if you ran it along the west side of the property and you had to have to veer around the other tree. I get it. So those were the issues that I think we brought forward, is really the routing of the road. Is there other options? And that would remain 14 lots. So you come around and you cut it across after parcel 4, or you could do it after parcel 5. You turn left and you could still serve the other parcel. So there were some other routing areas that would. You do have to move the pole. I do understand the costs. I do understand that, but it is not a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And our final speaker is the applicant, if you want to come back up.
Okay. Again, thank you for the extra time. I do want to reiterate, and some of the neighbors did it for me, we don't require or are not requesting any variances on our project. Everything fits the standards, which is what the standards are out there for. And I think that should not be held lightly. In regards to the drainage, given the amount of time spent on this, staff has done an excellent job. They've reviewed this 100 times over. They can explain it better than I can. They did so in the city meeting or the town hall meeting that we had last week. They did a good job at explaining it there. They did a good job explaining it in our last meeting. They're licensed civil engineers. Both the project engineer and your guys' staff engineers are licensed civil engineers. So at some point we have to trust the math there. They talk about standing water there. On the project now, well, there's no retention basin or drainage swells on the project right now. So, of course, it's going to improve. And in fact, if you look at the stats, it'll be less than half the outflow that currently exists on that. Also not taken into account on that is the fact there's going to be over 200 trees eventually planted on that site between all the different homes that'll be there. Grass, bushes, all these things help soak up water, which is super important. So that will also help with drainage on site, which is not something to be missed. We did look at running the road along that westerly border, and Joseph can probably better explain why that doesn't work. And I encourage you to ask him about that. And nor do I, me saying that, I don't know that the neighbors on that west side would like a road going there. But that's, I think, beside the point. It's not feasible for other reasons that Joseph can explain. Basins. These basins, maybe some stink, I don't know. Our HOA will maintain that. There are several basins throughout the city of Elk Grove. Looking across Pleasant Grove High School, I was in that neighborhood today. There are large basins throughout that entire development that there are beautiful walking trails around, and people enjoy walking through all these basins. So I don't anticipate this to be an issue that's being talked about. In regards to that tree, I forget the number, 3903 I think was the number. There are tree root preservation systems that are always in place, that the arborists require, that you mark off certain things, that you protect tree root systems the best you can. They have arborists that you get to pay to watch this happen, to make sure that you're maintaining the health of the tree. I'm sure that'll be a consideration as we go through the building process, the building plan process, and the requirements that will be required there. Again, our goal is not to lose an additional tree either. That's not something we're shooting for. We want to maintain as many as we can as well. And like we said, we're gonna plant some. We have already been granted 10 trees per site from a tree organization that Mr. Shaw, one of the owners, has already contracted. And so as people buy properties and they have wells, we will help facilitate to make sure that they have 10 additional trees at no cost that they'll be able to plant. So trees are also important to us. Any questions?
Question, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Nuttall, for all the comments, really, but focusing on 3903, I was just, Mr. Albiani's comments piqued my curiosity here. I appreciate the arborists on site will seek to preserve all the remaining trees. If they discover, as they get into more detailed design, that the drip system is affected or to the point where it could be significant, would you be willing to adjust the road? And I recognize it's not perfect. It wouldn't be necessarily a straight road, but if you're trying to meander around it, it wouldn't be the first time developments have had to make some slight
Shift a little
adjustments. Yeah.
I don't think that would be a problem for us to have it bump around that a little bit. I don't think
But
that's
to
a factor.
preserve that tree. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, before I turn it over for council deliberations, I did have a request for Mr. Soares to read a statement into the record, and so I will. And this is in relation to comments that were made at the town hall that we all attended. So I'll just read this so that, and he's traveling and could not be here. After my friends sold their acreage, the new owner, Viraj, and one of his associates came by our house. He seemed like a nice guy, and we had a nice conversation. As he prepared to leave, I asked how much he was asking per lot. I explained my brother-in-law, who lives in the Bay Area, might have an interest in a lot at some point. Because my sister has been in hospice care and will be buried at Pleasant Grove Cemetery. Viraj expressed his sorrow, and then he left. For him to announce to the neighbors at a meeting that neither Carolyn or I attended, or that my brother-in-law was going to buy a lot, is a lie. The rural area knows me well and has watched how I have always supported rural standards and conducted myself in a professional manner at all times. I do not support the project as designed and would not recommend this. So out of respect, I wanted to read that into the record because he was not able to attend the town hall. So I'm not opining on his comments. I just agreed that I would read them into the record.
Sure.
So with that, I will open it up for deliberations. We'll start to my right.
Madam Mayor, before you start that, if I could have Joseph put up the conditions of approval that was
Yes, that would be good.
offered by the applicant.
Yes, that would be great. You want to go first?
So just for clarification, we're going to propose a revision to condition number 25, which is for the establishment of the homeowners association. What we're adding is the additional covenants, conditions, and restrictions known as CC&Rs based off of the concessions that the applicant is willing to make. And so that'll include all exterior light fixtures shall be fully shielded. The screening of any above-ground mechanical equipment within the required building setback area shall be provided. Screening along the neighboring property line shall not include plants toxic to animals. And then finally, the lots bordering Pleasant Grove Elementary School shall install a 5-foot wide by 5-foot tall screening border of plants and trees along the fence within 6 months of obtaining the building permits.
And I will also add that our zoning code requires a 25-foot setback for buildings for the primary residence.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. So I'm officially closing the public comment opportunity, and turning to my right, I will start with Councilmember Robles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to say thank you to the association for allowing me to go and visit and tour. Thank you for showing me the area and what's occurring over there and what's happening with the drainage. And how it hasn't been maintained, and how oftentimes the city hasn't gone out there, and I want to apologize because of that. I do recognize that it is private land, and hopefully we can do something where we can, go on private land and help out. I know that oftentimes when it comes to that, it's government, so no one can step on my land. But I want to see if there's anything that we can do as a city to make sure that we can help out in these situations, especially when it comes to drainage. I understand it's expensive, but I definitely believe that we need to help our community, especially when needed, and especially with all the amount of rain that has occurred this year. Thank you for truly just showing me around and having me understand a little bit more of the rural community and of the area, even on the impact. I don't know who to ask this question to. Maybe does CEQA ever kind of have anything on the septics as it goes to a property line, or do they pretty much not cover that, or has there been anything that has ever been brought up to that?
As far as septic systems are handled by the county. They're handled based on a administrative permit process. Those ones are basically, they're applying their standards for wells and ensuring that the project does meet those requirements. So it's considered within the project, but not necessarily a CEQA consideration at that point by the time it gets to the county and they issue their well permit. Again, it's administrative. And in the case of this project, these properties on well systems and septic systems was considered as part of the overall general plan EIR, and it was determined that development at 2 acres per lot would not create any environmental impacts beyond what was considered in the general plan EIR.
Thank you for that. And the 2 acres isn't the net, correct?
It's 2 acres gross, and that's in line with the county's well and septic permitting requirements, 2 acres gross.
Okay, thank you. For right now, I think that's all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Brewer?
Yeah. And so this is also, and I agree with Councilmember Robles' assessment on figuring out a way to work with the property owners in taking care of some of the drainage issues, because I understand the topography is flat, and we're dealing with homes that are along a pathway, and a lot of the folks, when they moved out there, may have been during a time when there was a good amount of rains going on in the mid to late 80s, with a drought period in between. And just last winter up to last month, we've had historic atmospheric rivers and storms that have created more than normal activity. And some of the folks that I've talked to have said that they've had some water build up under their homes, and that creates a concern for me, because a lot of our home values, but also quality of life, is dramatically affected if the drainage is working properly, but for some strange reason the conveyance is being part of that diversion of that conveyance is going onto the property, and even though it shouldn't be up underneath the homes, they are. So we got to figure out a way to work with our homeowners in the area to figure that out, because it is an expensive endeavor. I know anytime you have to remove light poles, electric wiring, or electric infrastructure, you do have to pay that cost. And it's a lot of money to do that. And so we got to do something, even if it's working closely with our utilities to figure out a way to help defray those costs. And I don't know if we do that in a program, but it's something we should explore. I do appreciate the factoid by Darren Wilson of the zoning code providing the 25-foot setback for the bioretention basin. I think that's important because as foxtails get old and get damp, they do get musty, and that creates an attraction of mosquitoes where the mosquito abatement issue does come in, and if there's something we can do along with the homeowners to work with the mosquito abatement vector district to figure out some strategies to help neutralize those and mitigate those effects, that would be helpful. And I think one of the things that we've noticed is that that a soils test will be done down the road, and we know that's going to take a little over a year to do, because the information based on the test, where the 47.3% is clay, 26.2% is silt, 19.2% is fine, and that's from the sand part. But the land is clay, and we have to figure out a way to look at that, because as the plate hits that certain point, the water can either go forward or stagnate and rise. And so we got to figure out some plans and some strategies before construction is done, to look at the soils and really determine if the clay is really that hard, if that hard pan is really solid, how much lower we got to go in terms of our wells and our and septic and whatnot, because that's also part of the mitigation that Dale had mentioned that we should seriously take a look at. And I believe the issue, as mentioned by Councilmember Soon on Tree 3903, that was raised by Dennis Albiani, I think that's already been worked out as well. But it sounds like based on the conditions of approval, in addition to the other slide that we had seen that provided some of the agreements from the applicant, there's been a lot of progress where it felt like everything was at a loggerhead. There's been a number of things that have created some progress that is moving in the right direction. But I'm interested in hearing of what my other colleagues are thinking and opining on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Suen.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank both parties for their engagement in this process, all the residents and neighbors, the applicant. This is how it's supposed to work. And so I recognize some things haven't been worked out to the satisfaction of both sides, really, but also just that we're talking about changing a landscape that has been this way for a long period of time, and there's definitely reservations about that. But we also try to balance that with an individual's property rights to do with their property, within the context of what our city allows. And so, obviously, we find ourselves in this decision maker role here, but I bring it back to the process of reviewing a lot of the things that were talked about, the drainage impacts, the septic and water, the requirements of those. And I think that staff and the applicant has done what is in what has been required of them via the process, whether it's local or state law. So, and just to address, some of these things we mentioned earlier already from the last meeting about the legacy issue of the drainage. And I agree with my colleagues. I don't think we as a city should stop. I do hope that we look into seeing what kind of program we can develop and implement that would be more regular in ensuring that the drainage facilities were taken care of, and in the hopes that maybe that might improve the operations of the system. As for the detention basin, it will be maintained as a requirement of the HOA. Standing water concerns, you're getting that anyway. Again, this is a legacy issue. You have standing water out there today. So the requirement of the applicant having a detention basin on there creates standing water only to the degree that, so you don't have additional flows going off that property that was greater than what is currently happening now. So that's the reasoning behind it. There was mention about the septic and water, and staff addressed that. There is a county requirement on that. They will review the plans for each individual system as it comes in. I have my own feelings about septic and well and what that means for water quality in the first place. But again, we are valuing and cherishing the rural area, and as such, septic and wells are allowed in this area. There's also, when I went out to visit with the neighborhood out there, and I heard a sense of there is a distinction between rural and estate residential, maybe is what I'll coin it. And I think that's a policy discussion, we should have at the next general plan update, because I think there's different visions for what rural means. I think some people feel like, rural is more than just acreage. It's more agricultural based, and others I think might see like an opportunity to have, larger homes on a good sized piece of land. And so I'm sensing, different views about that, and I think it's worth a community discussion on it and what we want this area to be and what we define as rural in the future. But again, that's for the future. We have to operate what's within the current policies of today. And so I think finally I'll just, I appreciate the applicant's willingness to do what's humanly possible to protect 3903, even if that means just a slight adjustment of the road and its right of way. With that, I think, given all the meetings that have taken place, the concessions made by the applicant, the conversations that have occurred, and again, getting back to we, the city, have a process for any type of application that comes in, and especially of this nature. And I do believe that staff has and the applicant's consultants have tried to answer all the questions and address all the concerns that have been raised. And while I realize it may not, it may never make everybody happy, I find myself, in following in the spirit of this process, I find myself willing to support this application. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Spies?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first, let me acknowledge a few things. I'm no expert in CEQA. I'm no expert in land development. I'm no expert in a number of things. I'm no expert in drainage. I hold no expertise in most of what is discussed today. And I don't think that's unusual, right? I know we're not experts in that. And we rely upon the staff to do that work. We have a very professional staff. We also rely upon the observations of the surrounding neighbors. We also rely upon the applicant. And what's difficult for me, or what I'm not able to do, is to start challenging the city lawyer on the process for CEQA. I wouldn't even know how to start. I know how to spell it. That's about it, my friends. And I know what it's there for, but I'm not an expert, right? So we rely upon the staff to do that work, and I think they do it well. Councilmember Soon, relative to the rural/estate residential discussion for a general plan, I think that's appropriate. I think what we're seeing right now for most people going into the rural area is, even though it is rural, most of the people moving in, particularly from the Bay Area, are using those properties not for a rural use, but they're using them for estate residential, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. That's what they're using it for. But I do believe that there should be a discussion about that with the next general plan update. Thank you for bringing up 300903. Thank you for looking for ways to resolve potential damage to that. Let's see. I know the answer to this question. This much I know, but I'm going to ask you to answer it for me, because I think some of the residents need to hear this. When a resident believes that another property owner or another resident has not maintained a condition of the approval or has not maintained the municipal code, who do they call? Code enforcement, right? Okay, because that was a question that came up, right? They said, well, this neighbor down the way is filling up their canal with gravel. Well, please don't fight that yourself. Please call code enforcement, because that's what they're there for, okay? Before I get to, I think, where I'm going with my final comment, vegetation control. We're coming up on fire season. You need to get those weeds knocked down before fire season comes along. Don't wait till it gets dry. Yeah, because if you wait till it gets dry, you try to mow that in the middle of the day, it's going to light up on fire. So, as part of the application process, do we encourage the applicants to do an outreach plan?
Yes, we do, especially in the rural area.
Do we require it?
We do not require it. It is strongly encouraged.
Can we require it?
That's-
Because here's where I'm going, and I'm really salty. And Verge, I know you're a friend of mine. I hope we're still friends after this. But this project was a big crap show, because I feel as though the applicants didn't do their due diligence in the first place by reaching out to the residents surrounding the area. I think the trust issues could have been resolved a lot earlier. When you talk about misinformation, that's your problem. Your problem. I am happy to sit in the living rooms of residents who want to tell me what their issues are, but when they're issues that should have been resolved before, I get a little bit salty, and you can hear that. We had to have, I think every city council person and the mayor went out to visit. We had a city, or what do we call it, staff, or a city hall, what do you call that? You had a town hall that was done with that. And that was done by these folks up here who do not benefit from the project in the least bit. Now, so my hope is this, that when the next time anybody comes up, the next question, the first question I'm going to ask them is, what was your outreach plan? Because this is insane. The hours that we spent to get your project done The amount of time that staff had to do is ridiculous. And I'll tell that to any developer that walks into Elk Grove. With that, I will support the project, but come on, that was ridiculous.
Thank
I'm
you.
done.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It'll be a little hard to follow that.
Don't try.
But I understand the saltiness because this has been a very challenging development process. From the meeting last month to the he said, she said, the misinformation, all of those things. And so what I am grateful for is I reached out to the applicant and said, you know, we need to have a town hall. And we were able to do it within 48 hours. And the hope was that a lot of the questions, perhaps the misconceptions, would be addressed. Some were, some weren't, and that's okay. But everybody, every resident has the right to feel seen and heard. And so that's where I share some of my vice mayor saltiness. However, I will be more tempered in my deliberations. It has been challenging. I also met a week prior to that with Mr. Rick Soares and a number of you, I think a lot of you participated in that meeting in his living room, where I got to hear from you. Residents should not hear when something is just coming before Planning Commission. You need to be a part of the process much earlier. And that's where we as the city can do a better job. So I won't hold completely the applicant on this. I think us as a city, let's put that there as a requirement. Because this, while it's not on the same scale, reminds me a little bit about CNU, where the community did not feel seen or heard. And that was a prime example of how not to do a project. This is pretty close up there. So, you know, utilize the resources that are available. I am grateful that my colleagues took time to meet with residents and do some of that outreach. It was not a clean process. However, at the end of the day, do you have the right to build this project? I mean, that's really before us. And the answer for me is yes. But it, you know, in that process, I know that we will do better so that we don't get to this same place in the future. That public outreach is critical. Particularly, you know, this is a lifestyle out in the rural community. And so there's a lot of areas where we can work together. And this is where you have an opportunity as the applicant. We brought some of these ideas up at the town hall, that there are animals where, you know, they can be impacted by the 14 that are all living together of their lifestyle choices, fireworks, things like that, that will have a negative impact on horses and cows. So it's just being mindful and being a good neighbor. And being a good neighbor starts with getting to know each other, having conversations. So this has not been the perfect process, but I hope it's been a teachable moment for everyone, that let's do better and let's be better. So those are my comments.
Madam Mayor, before you get to a vote, if my math's correct, I have 2 head counts for requiring outreach. If I could get kind of the majority of the council for that direction.
So
we
before
can look into that?
So we can look into that, but I can tell you what I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be is that we can and perhaps should strongly encourage outreach, but I'm not comfortable that we can require it. And so I think what we should do is continue to strongly encourage that. It's obviously a very good thing, but requiring them is essentially compelling speech on their part and can run into some legal issues.
Okay, along the process, the various steps of when staff is having conversations, we can put that at the top of the question, have you done this? So that it's front and center and repeated. that before it comes to planning commission, we can ask once again, has this happened? The more we ask it, I think that it becomes a lifestyle then the word gets out.
I agree, and I would note, to remind the council, the planning application itself does have a section in there encouraging community outreach and engagement, and strongly encourage the applicant to do that. So that is something that the planning commission and council can consider in reviewing the project as to whether or not they did that. But compelling them to do it, I think, is just a little too far.
It definitely creates frustration on our parts, but they have the most to lose, right? I mean, so.
So the more in those staff meeting or any meetings, any check-ins, again, those constant reminders, has this happened? Have you know? So maybe we can't mandate it, but we can certainly very strongly encourage, because outreach, like any other outreach, can look very different for different people. Sometimes outreach for someone is just posting something. That is not outreach. It is reaching out, having conversations, having town halls, and sometimes it's more than once, particularly depending on the project. So, meaningful outreach.
And just let them know that I'm going to be asking that question of everybody, for everybody who's coming through next time. I'm going to be asking that.
I'll just play the video from tonight.
Would you?
Yes, please.
That's
just
cool.
his comments.
That's cool. That's
just
cool.
him.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Just him. But, at the end of the day, what I have to go on is the expertise from the experts, from staff. This is where, just like our vice mayor said, we aren't the experts in this. So I rely on a doctor to give me the information on medicine. I rely on an attorney. I will rely on the engineers to make sure that, that we can safely support a project, because those studies have been done. So I'm relying on all of the experts that have weighed in on this, because I think that that's important. So with that, I will look for a motion.
Make the motion, introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance finding no further environmental review is required pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, section 15183, and approving rezone for the Pleasant Grove Estates project, assessors parcel number 1270110-024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? All right. Motion 2.
Make the motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Can I clarify that motion would include the revisions to condition number 25 on your screen, correct?
Oh, yes,
Correct.
thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. With that, we will move on to item 9.3. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Kristen Parsons, your Deputy Public Works Director here. I'm here this evening to present item 9.3 to consider an ordinance amending the Elk Grove Municipal Code, Chapter 10.48, speed zones to establish speed limits on Camera Road. The city's public works and police departments work cooperatively to manage and enforce traffic safety within the city of Elk Grove. State law prescribes how speed limits are to be set and follows Caltrans requirements for supporting them with an engineering and traffic survey known as an ENTS, which measures the speeds on the road, and this is typically done, or should be done rather, during clear, sunny, uncongested conditions, and the engineering and traffic survey should document any unusual roadway conditions. The speed limits are set based on the 85th percentile speed, or the speed at which 85% of traffic is traveling at or below. Speed limits are set at 5-mile-per-hour increments, and they are set by either rounding up or down to the nearest 5-mile-per-hour increment. If you round up, let's use the example of 85th percentile reading at 49 miles per hour, you would round up to 50 miles per hour. Then the speed limit could be reduced by 5 miles per hour or down to 45 miles per hour to account for conditions that are not readily apparent to the driver. If you round down, however, let's say an 85th percentile reading of 47 miles per hour, rounding down to 45 miles per hour, no additional reductions are allowed. By following these requirements, local law enforcement are able to use radar equipment to enforce the speed limit. The law requires that speed limits be set by ordinance based on an engineering and traffic survey, which needs to be reevaluated after 5 years in order for the speed limit to remain valid. The current law provides allowances for extending the expiration date from 5 years to 7 years, and also for an additional 7 years for a total of 14 years if there have been no significant changes in traffic volumes, roadway widths, roadway volumes, or adjacent development has not occurred. We have 26 speed zones in the city of Elk Grove, which are set to expire by the end of this fiscal year. 25 of those can be extended due to no significant changes in traffic volumes, roadway widths, roadway volumes, or adjacent development. These can be extended by either 2, 4, or 7 years, and each of those are dependent on the original expiration dates and prior extensions that they had. One road, however, has a new engineering and traffic survey which supports an increase in the speed limit, and that's what we're here for tonight. The police department asked Public Works staff to reevaluate Camera Road because a substantial portion had been widened from 2 lanes to essentially 3 lanes to 2 lanes with a 2-way left turn lane median, and also widened shoulders. Camera Road is currently listed in our municipal code as 50 miles per hour. The recently completed roadway improvements were designed using a 55 mile per hour design speed. In anticipation of a speed limit increase, the Camera Road project added signs posting the speed limit at 55 miles per hour along most of this road. Camera Road between Bruceville and Lots Parkway is currently posted at 55 miles per hour in both directions. When staff resurveyed this segment, the speed limit for, or the 85th percentile prevailing speed was measured at 59 miles per hour. The recommended speed limit was derived by rounding the prevailing speed up to the nearest 5 miles per hour increment or to 60 miles per hour, and then applying a 5 mile per hour reduction in compliance with the California Vehicle Code and the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Staff recommends keeping the posted speed limit of 55 miles per hour here, which will require an update to the speed zone listed in our municipal code of 50 miles per hour. Camera Road between Lots Parkway and State Route 99 is currently posted at 50 miles per hour in the westbound direction, but 55 miles per hour in the eastbound direction. When staff resurveyed this segment, the 85th percentile speed was measured at 57 miles per hour. The recommended speed limit for both directions was derived by rounding the prevailing speed down to the nearest 5 miles per hour increment or to 55 miles per hour. The code does not provide for further reducing the posted speed limit when initially rounding down. Staff recommends keeping the posted 55 mile per hour speed limit in the eastbound direction and increasing the posted speed limit to 55 miles per hour to match that in the westbound direction. This will also require an update to the speed zone listed in our municipal code, which lists it at 50 miles per hour. So staff recommends the City Council introduce and waive the full reading of the attached ordinance amending Elk Grove Municipal Code Section 10.48 speed zones to establish speed limits on various roads in the city, and I am available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you for that. Let's see, I will open up the public comment opportunity. I do not see anyone signed up, so I'll close the public comment opportunity. Any questions, comments? Nothing? You have one? Yes, Councilmember Brewer?
So Kristen, I want to thank you for providing this overview and the proposal. I know it's like as the city's starting to grow, we know that Camera Road has always been used as an alternate thoroughfare. And in future years, it's going to become more of an important artery for the city, especially as we talk about making our way from Interstate 5 all the way out to Folsom and El Dorado Hills. And so trying to create some speed limits in place is definitely important for safety purposes, especially as the city will continue to grow. It's very important that we take safety into full consideration. How did we come to, I know you mentioned it, but if you can expound upon it again, how did we come to the agreement of the set speed limits going westbound and eastbound? Because I know Lots Parkway is a very important line in the driving, because I've seen people, as they make their drive, they're driving in excess of 65 to get to Highway 99 or get to that stoplight at Promenade just to make it over the overcrossing onto the east side. So I'm curious on if we've done any studies or work between Public Works and police in getting a gauge on that, because the number of vehicles that make their way on Camera Road on a daily basis has increased since 2013. Because I remember someone had told me a while back that on any given Saturday, in excess of 10,000 cars made their way on Camera Road. And I didn't believe it until I actually sat there one day. And the reason why is because as my brother and I were cleaning up the hay bales from the soapbox derby race that we ran back then, I actually sat there on a Monday to watch the number of cars. And I literally sat there for 2 hours after we did our cleanup. And I noticed that there was a good amount of cars going there then. And I'm just wondering, between 2013 and 2022, the evolution of Camera Road as a main road, and people getting from west to east and using that to bypass all the stoplights along Elk Grove and Laguna.
You're correct. It certainly has increased and will continue to increase as development occurs. As part of the general plan update, a new traffic study was performed for the city, and the traffic model was developed and is updated, and that is currently being looked at by staff. I don't have the numbers available for the traffic volumes offhand, but certainly traffic has increased, as you mentioned. We did divide this segment. Currently in the municipal code, it lists the speed limit for Camera from State Route 99 to Bruceville Road. We did break this into 2 segments, and we did look at the segment from State Route 99 to Lots separately from Lots to Bruceville. However, both of those surveys did result in a recommendation for the same speed limit of 55 miles per hour.
No, thank you. This is very helpful, because I feel that as we continue to grow, and that area is going to grow, it's unavoidable. And so having some preventative measures in place will definitely increase safety, and I'm hoping that it will promote some sort of responsible driving as people make their way across, because I don't foresee any stoplights happening unless growth goes beyond Camera Road or south of Camera. And so as that happens, as we widen the roads, increase the lanes, that the miles per hour limit stays in place to some degree, because that rural area will soon become an urban area. And going at 55 miles an hour will definitely be a helpful marker for folks.
Any other questions, comments? Nope. Thank you for your report. I will look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
So
I
for
think
our
you need to
ordinances,
read, yeah.
we would just ask that it's a short one, so,
So read that, Rod.
but Councilmember
May I read
Brewer.
that?
When it's highlighted, you have to.
If you would indulge us, please.
I will certainly indulge.
Thank you, sir.
The recommended action that staff recommends the city council receive information from staff and introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance amending Elk Grove Municipal Code, Chapter 10.48 regarding speed zones to establish speed limits on Camera Road.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. On to item 9.4.
Good evening. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'm Christina Castro, your Capital Programs Division Manager, here tonight to present the 2023-2028 Capital Improvement Program. Before jumping into the 5-year program, I'd like to highlight a few things from our current year. Very excited to say that we were awarded 10 grants this year that totaled nearly $14.6 million, which was nearly double our goal. Special thanks to Kaylee Lyons, our Senior Transportation Planner, who helped achieve that. In addition, our 16 projects that are expected to be awarded by the end of this year, made possible by Sam Grimm, our Senior Engineer. Highlights. Some of our major accomplishments include the Laguna Creek Interregional Trail Master Plan, which was adopted by Council on February 22nd. This plan included conceptual designs for 6 segments of the trail that will be considered for future CIP projects or as part of future grant applications. Elk Grove Florin Road and Elk Grove Park Sidewalk Infill Project eliminated sidewalk gaps and improved ADA, bicycle, and pedestrian access along this stretch south of Valley Oak Lane towards East Stockton Boulevard. The nearly 4,200 square foot community building within the Oasis Park was constructed by CSD and is expected to be completed this summer. The Studio Court remodel and PD campus improvements were completed earlier this year, which was the first major project identified in the police department's long-range facility functionality study. Property and evidence, along with forensics operations, will relocate to this new location. And the 1 million kilowatt hour solar PV system out at District 56 was connected to SMUD in the fall of 2022 and has been generating power per the design. The Arterial Roads Rehabilitation and Bicycle Lane Improvements project along Waterman Road and Elk Grove Florin Road improved the pavement and provided a Class 2 bike lane along with a mid-block crossing and pedestrian improvements. And our annual slurry seal and resurfacing project, Phase 4, just awarded tonight through consent. This phase will include pavement repair on Grant Line Road from Bradshaw Road to Calvin Road, coming up soon. And now I'll review the purpose of tonight's, the 5-year CIP reflects the city's capital project priorities. The first year is part of the city's annual budget, with the remaining years forecasted based on projected funding, priority, and staffing capacity. We update the CIP each year and adopt along with the budget adoption by council. This year, there were a total of 103 projects throughout the book. In the first section, you will find the 41 active projects that are receiving new funds. 15 of those were newly created this year. In the second section, you will find the 27 prior year active projects that do not receive additional funds, and 10 of those will be closed out within the next few months.
The remaining 35 are in the minor projects and studies section. Projects that are considered minor are when they're less than $250,000. The projects considered for inclusion in the CIP come from a variety of sources, such as the general plan, the city's fee programs, operational, safety, and maintenance needs, our city council missions, visions, goals, and priorities identify the public or city staff. Most of the funding for the CIP is restricted, which means those funds can only be used for a specific reason. The CIP is broken up into 5 different programs. We have alternative transportation modes, community enhancements, drainage, facilities, and then transportation. So at this point, I want to give a little sneak preview of the project's plan for construction in the next fiscal year. We have the Laguna Creek Trail and West Stockton Boulevard multimodal improvement, which will resurface 2,800 feet of Class 1 multi-use trail along West Stockton Boulevard and replace 34 curb ramps. The Elk Grove Trail gap closure will construct a new Class 1 bikeway along the south side of Elk Grove Creek and add bike lanes along Laguna Springs Drive. Phase 1 of the Southeast Industrial Area storm drain improvements is currently in construction, with Phase 2 expected to go into construction next spring. This project, along with the Bond Road storm drain improvements, will provide capacity for future development growth. And the police department facilities at 8380 and 8400 Laguna Palms Way will get tenant improvements to accommodate staff growth and operational needs for the next 10 years. Improvements include optimizing existing spaces to provide more workstations, new offices, and new conference rooms. The project also includes resealing the roof and replacing HVAC units that have reached the end of their useful life. Construction is anticipated to begin this fall. And the design kicked off last year on the citywide traffic signal enhancement and congestion relief project, which was nearly $11 million in grant funds. This project will provide signal enhancements and congestion relief on major roadways throughout the city. Construction is anticipated to begin early 2024. And the 2024 pavement maintenance project is our annual maintenance project. This year, additional funding from Measure E and Wilton Rancheria increased the budget by $2 million to expand the project scope. Next group of projects are city priorities that we will continue through the design phase and get closer to construction in the future years. We have the Laguna Creek Trail crossing at State Route 99, which will construct a Class 1 overcrossing facility and connect to an existing trail in the west and to the Camden Lakes area on the east. The design contract is underway and has over $10.5 million in grant funding. The next 2 projects are just kicking off and will be led by CSD. The first is Sun Grove Park, a 1-acre park within Laguna Ridge and located between White Walk Parkway to the north, Poppy Ridge to the south, Bighorn to the west, and Cape Verde Drive to the east. And the second is a 9-acre park located in the southeast policy area and identified as the Neighborhood Park K, or the Mendez Park, located south of Bilby Road and west of the future Bighorn Boulevard extension. The future library that was presented at the last council meeting will be located at 9260 Elk Grove Boulevard in the old Rite Aid building. The design's now underway, with construction beginning early 2025. The Camera Road Phase 1 includes a 2-lane extension from I-5 to Bruceville Road. The environmental phase is just wrapping up, and the final design contract will be awarded in the next few months, hopefully. With this major milestone complete, we can begin seeking our grant funds for construction. And this slide includes the White Lock Interchange at State Route 99 project, as shown in purple. And then in the pink is the Lots and Promenade Parkway project, which will connect Poppy Ridge Road to Promenade Parkway to the east and extend Lots Parkway from White Lock at the north to the Sterling Meadows project limit to the south. Both projects will continue through the initial design and environmental phase. So the 5-year CIP includes over $262 million worth of projects from a variety of sources with 42 different funding codes. We categorize these funds as either discretionary, restricted, or unfunded. The unfunded is typically a placeholder in some of our projects to identify future grant funding opportunities. This chart breaks down the funding to each program with both funded and unfunded allocations. Leading the way is transportation with 25 projects worth nearly $210 million. These numbers do not include the minor projects and studies. So the projects listed here are new and have been added to the CIP this year. Some of them newly added projects were awarded grant funds. And the key takeaways for tonight I hope to convey with this presentation is that the additional staff being added to the Capital Program Division will be able to focus more on delivering the city's key priority projects in the years to come. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for that excellent presentation. At this time, I will open up the public comment opportunity. I don't see anyone signed up. I'll close the public comment opportunity and I'll start to my left. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the presentation, Christina. I'm just excited to see a lot of these go forward. The traffic congestion improvement project and Camera Road going to I-5, so and the trail. So really excited. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
All right. Did they tell you what my usual softball question is?
Well, I watched the several
You watched
past ones, so yeah, go for it.
So my usual softball question is, tell me the top 1 or 2 projects that you think that most residents in the city of Elk Grove should be excited about.
I think it's the library.
Okay.
The kids zone with all the fun interactive features and furniture, and of course, the congestion relief will get you there even faster along
Oh, look at that. You snuck in too.
all the
That's
way
good.
to Watermelon. Yeah,
Nice. Okay. Got it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
That was good. Councilmember Brewer?
No, I just want to thank you for the report, Christina. This is really good stuff. I'm very excited. And as my colleagues like to brush against me, I'm glad that all those projects are happening in my district.
Oh, God.
But all kidding aside, no, this is really good for Elk Grove. And looking at how the 5-year window is looking like, and how a lot of the pie is being filled with the help of Measure E. I think that alleviates a lot of the angst on what we're going to be doing over the next few years on a lot of these projects. So thank you. This is really exciting.
Councilmember Robles?
Just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. I'm excited that we got 14.6 million in 10 grants. Let's try to get 15 next time. Just kidding.
Set
But
that bar.
I know you guys are doing hard work, and thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great work on the grant, and very excited to get this update, see where all the status of all these wonderful projects. So with that, we will move on, since that it's just an update, to item 9.5.
I will.
Okay.
So I take the opportunity to share some high-level overview of the budget, and then Shana Ryan, our budget manager, will give you more of the details at the next meeting when you'll be asked to potentially adopt that. So let's see if I can get out of here. Of course, I didn't bring my glasses with me. I can't read it. Hey, it's magic. Good job. All right. Well, I'm Jason Behrman, the city manager, and it's my privilege to be able to present the proposed budget for next fiscal year. I do want to recognize all the hard work that goes into this document by lots of staff, right? Really, the entire organization, in some degree or another, has their hands in developing this and certainly spending the money, but also programming it and prioritizing things. In particular, our finance department and our budget team that spend countless hours, as well as the analysts in each of the departments that really provide valuable input into the development of this document. And we take our directive from the city council and the priorities that you have. And so we listen to the comments that we shared during the retreat. We crafted this budget that reflects the council's priorities. We'll go into some of the highlights. First of all, I think one of the big themes is we have a couple of new funding sources, which are significant. Measure E, which will see a theme throughout the budget document in various departments, as well as new casino mitigation funding that's coming online. This is the recurring amount. We've been receiving the one-time funds ever since they started construction, but 1 year after openings, we'll get our first payment in September of the recurring funds. You can see the total budget is $348 million, which is a large increase over the prior year, partly because of those two new funding sources, but also some capital project carryovers. And the general fund is $88.3 million, and that's not including Measure E. So even though technically Measure E is included as part of the general fund, we're accounting for it separately in its own fund line. And so taking Measure E out, the budget of $88.3 million represents an increase of $2.3 million more than the current fiscal year. So some of the major cost drivers are some new positions, so 4 new positions, and the full year cost of positions added during the fiscal year, general salary and benefit increases for employees, as well as new operational programs and service cost increases and one-time equipment purchase. So I'll go into a little bit of detail as we go on. But the good news is the budget is balanced, as it has been. Our reserves continue to be fully funded at the policy amounts of 25% for our rainy day fund, which totals $21.2 million, and our opportunity reserve, which is another 5%, $4.2 million. And we continue to contribute money towards our economic development and our capital reserve funds. So here's just an overview. Like I said, this continues to fund the council priorities and the input that we receive from members of our community. Some of those top priorities including focus on housing and homelessness and public safety and traffic and economic development, all the things we heard during the last year and a half with Measure E, right? And it's not just Measure E funds that are funding those, it's continuing finding other sources as well to do that. As we look at the 5-year projections, we continue to maintain that structured, balanced budget throughout the entirety of the 5-year forecast. We'll go into that in a minute. So we're gonna talk a minute just about general fund. So where do the general fund monies come from? This is a quick breakdown. As we've talked about in the past, sales tax is the city's largest general fund revenue item, followed by property tax and then vehicle in lieu fees. Property tax in lieu of vehicle in lieu fees, and then other taxes like utility user tax and transient occupancy tax and franchise fees and other similar taxes. So the next one shows how we spend the funds that we receive, that $88.3 million budget. Most of it goes into compensation. A lot of this is in our police department. As you'll see in this next slide, 70% is in the police department, and most of the police department expenses are from personnel. We have a lot of police officers and dispatchers and other individuals that work to support the effort that they do. And then you can see how it's broken down in some of the other smaller categories throughout the city. And again, this is I'm going to get into in a second. We see the total city budget, and the police department then is a smaller percentage as you factor in all the other funding sources that we have. This is just general fund, which is the city's discretionary funds. The other ones are designated for specific purposes. We can't use those for any purpose. They have to be funds for the purpose in which the funds are established. So now we're talking about overall. This is not the general fund. This is overall city funds. Where does the money come from? You can see now the sales tax percentage goes down from 36%. Now it's 14% of the total, and property tax, et cetera, gets allocated because now we're factoring in grants and recycling and waste and transportation funds and development impact fee funds and all the other funds that make up the entirety of the city budget, which is a very complex budget with dozens and dozens of funds. As you read through the budget document, if you haven't looked through it yet, you have a couple weeks to look at it before we meet again. It's a big document with lots of funds and lots of complexity to it, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. And thankfully and gratefully, the city has a diverse funding portfolio that allows us to do things, particularly with our CFDs. You see Renee Attar gets up here every couple of weeks and talks about all the CFD work and things that we're doing. Those are real blessings and benefits to our community, and so I'm grateful for the early city founders who found wisdom in setting those up and establishing those. So now we have funds to maintain our roads and our parks and all the other things that we do, and we're not solely reliant on sales tax and property tax and other general fund dollars. So here's how the funding breaks down. Again, this is for the entirety of the city, and you can see the capital project that Christina just went through, that represents the largest slice of the pie. And our operating costs and compensation is much smaller when you look at the totality of the city budget, not just general fund. And then by function, you can see again that police department was a 70%. Now, if you look at the totality of the budget, is now 17%. So again, the capital improvement program represents a large percentage. Public Works, Development Services, and the other non-general fund departments start to kick in, and you can see the benefit and value of having the diversification of the funding sources that the city has. So now looking out at the 5 years, what this chart shows is the revenues are projected to increase each year over the next 5 years, and also expenditures are expected to increase as we continue to grow as a city and as a community, and our reserves will continue to be fully funded through that. Now, this projection does not anticipate a recession. We all know there's some headwinds, and so this next chart shows some of the potential headwinds that are going on right now, including the debt ceiling debate that's going on. The damage that could cause to the economy is certainly unknown, and economists are predicting dire potential consequences if that doesn't get resolved. Very hopeful that it does. Certainly, high inflation is still an issue. The feds are trying to thread that needle and trying to cool off the economy without wrecking the economy. The housing growth nationwide is slowing. It's still strong in Elk Grove, but certainly we're not immune. And as that potentially slows down even more, then that'll impact our revenues and the robustness of the local economy. So that 5 year does not anticipate a full-blown recession. It's certainly possible that we do enter into a full-blown recession. And luckily, thankfully, we have solid reserves. We have the ability to pivot and make reductions and changes and course corrections that will allow us time to do that. That's what the reserve allows a city to do. It gives you time to plan. You're not immediately in an emergency because you've put money aside, and you can weather the storm depending on how deep, how long the recession might last. Will dictate what kind of impacts it might have to our budget. But right now, that's not built into the 5 years, but we're certainly prepared to respond if it does materialize. All right, let's talk about Measure E a little bit. We've talked the last meeting about the tax sharing agreement with the Cosumnes Community Service District, which the council approved, which was great. I think I also mentioned at the last meeting that our Measure E Oversight Committee unanimously approved or adopted or recommended the City Council adopt the Measure E expenditure plan, which is in your budget. I'll go over some of the highlights right now. We'll get into more details. Certainly, I would encourage council as well as members of the public to get into the budget document, and there's descriptions for each of the programs that I'm going to go over just very briefly, but there's a good discussion and dialogue in there. But this is the overall for our year one estimate. We're estimating $22.5 million in revenue coming in from Measure E. 20% is that set aside for future priority projects and reserves, 30% to the CSD, and then 50% retained by the city for the projects and programs that are outlined here. Again, public safety, including reducing crime, addressing homelessness, 911 response times, enhancing programs to combat youth crime and gang prevention, and then roads and parks, maintaining the streets, parks, traffic, and cleaning public spaces and economic development are the highlights. And what you see is in the budget, a reflection of each one of those priorities has some program and project associated with it. I'll get into that in just a little bit. So this shows you how all of the funds are divided up between both the city and the CSD. Again, each of those priorities that you saw are represented in this chart. This is just the city allocation. You can see the reducing crime is 42%. That's by far the biggest allocation from city funds. Addressing homelessness is 18%. Maintaining streets, which includes traffic reduction as well, 24%. And then the other ones and these are, the priorities are based really on the polling work that we did, the community input that we received, all the community workshops we did. That's how those priorities were determined. So some budget highlights that are in there, including Measure E, but others as well. So there are 19 new positions from Measure E, including 17 of which are in the police department. We have 13 converted from contract staff in the Public Works Department that you heard Mr. Warner talk about at the last meeting. We have 4 from the general fund, including 3 new positions at the animal shelter, and then 1 new senior deputy city attorney position. We have 2 funded directly from the Wilton Rancheria Casino mitigation dollars, a new police department lieutenant position, as well as a new code enforcement officer, 2 police positions in the Arctic from grants, and then one public works position. I believe it's an analyst position from various public works funds. And I will just mention briefly, I know we've had in the last couple of meetings, we've had people show up talking about the need for a new veterinarian at our animal shelter. And our animal services manager has obviously reviewed that, has had many discussions with the group of individuals that we appreciate the work that they do to take care of those cats in our community. Right now, the priorities of the shelter is not for a veterinarian. There may be a need at some point in the future, but we're relying on the expertise of our staff, as well as the expertise of a consultant that we hired early this year, the report of which is almost completed, but they're not recommending the need for an additional veterinarian at this time out there. Again, there may come a time, but we have other needs out there, including mostly animal care positions. All 3 of these positions are animal care positions. The number of animals in the shelter has increased significantly over the last couple of years, and that is the priority, the need out of the shelter right now. And so that's why we have recommended and are allocating funds for that purpose. So total of 42 new positions, a combination of new positions from Measure E and other sources, and as well as the conversion of staff positions or contract positions to staff positions, and 23 in the police department. So let's talk about some of the major program areas, including a lot of these are new programs or new positions in the police department. So the ones that are with the asterisks are ones that are funded from Measure E. So we have our drone program as a first responder, which I think the chief has talked a little bit about, but we're looking forward to, and we're going to find some opportunities throughout the year to share more about some of these new programs and services, because we're not going to be able to go through it all tonight, but we're going to take some opportunities to do that at future meetings. So this is just a quick highlight. A couple of new motor officer positions for traffic, youth services team, some POP and HOT, that's homeless outreach teams, and our problem-oriented policing teams, 3 new officers, those teams. 3 new dispatch positions, 2 new mental health clinicians, 2 new patrol positions, additional flock cameras with the license plate readers as well, and those are all Measure E. And then we also have a community prosecutor position, which we've talked about in the past, which is a great program that we're looking forward to sharing more information about. We're working on an agreement right now with Sacramento County that will allow that to take place. So when that comes back, we'll give you more information about that program. But that program or that position is a contract position, and at least in the first year, we're proposing that it come from the casino funds, but I think eventually it'll transition into Measure E. And then we have the 2 new Arctic positions. So that's a lot in a single year, and that would not be possible without Measure E. It's really amazing. It's going to have a significant impact on our ability to fight crime and keep our community safe. So I know the chief and his team are super excited to get these on board, but it's going to take time. You're not going to be July 1 and all of a sudden, boom, everything's there, right? It's going to take really the totality of the year and maybe into the following year to get the staffing, to get the programs, to get everything. And so please, be patient with us as we ramp these things up. Same thing with housing and homelessness. Lots of great programs that Sarah and her team have put forward, and our homelessness ad hoc committee as well that has been working on these things. That are really, I think, going to make a difference. So interim shelter options, including mostly during the winter months when the shelter needs are really acute. So we're working on solutions for that right now. Additional homeless navigators, transitioning the one we have now from contract to having a second one, and both of them being in-house positions or city positions. Mental health access improvements, transitional housing support, case management, life skills, homelessness prevention, as well as 2 new city-owned sites that we're looking to develop as affordable housing projects. We recently released an RFP for those sites. Some quality of life things, some improvements related to our graffiti abatement program, Keeping Elk Grove Clean pilot project, which will involve a variety of different things to keeping our trails and our canals and our creeks clean, and providing more trash receptacles, doggy pickup stations, as well as just getting out there and picking up the trash. A new parking and tow enforcement officer, a community service officer, as well as the additional animal shelter positions that I mentioned. Economic development, we're still continuing to work through the zoo on the various design elements as well as the CEQA environmental review. I'm looking forward to having that back to you in early '24. Project Elevate, Railroad Street that you're familiar with. Some new programs coming on associated with Measure E, including a facade improvement program, which allows business owners to receive grants from the city to fix up the outside of their buildings and make them more attractive, particularly focused in our Old Town area. Our brew incentive program, which provides funding for breweries and restaurants and things of that nature. Our Main Street Startup Program, Business Improvement District in Old Town, and Tourism Grant Program and Tech Hub. Lots of programs. Like I said, I'm not going to go into all the detail, but we will provide opportunities during the year to come back and share more details. But there are descriptions in the budget document for each of those. So I encourage you to go in there, and there's a little paragraph that describes each of those items, what they are and what they're meant to do, and the costs associated with each one. And Christina did an amazing job kind of presenting our CIP, so I'm not going to go into that, but we're excited to be able to deliver that, and the staffing changes that are reflected in the budget that allow for the staff conversion. We think we're going to be more effective in delivering those projects, and so we have a great core team right now. It's only going to get strengthened with the addition of the new team members. Just something that I know everybody's always interested in, how well the city's doing from a PERS kind of unfunded liability standpoint. It's really a challenge for many cities. The city has been diligent over the last 8 years in putting money away and prepaying our PERS obligations. So to date, we've spent $13.5 million in those prepayments, which is huge. As of today, the city's plans are over 100% funded, which is amazing. Unfortunately, last year PERS lost money in its investment, so that means when we get our actuarial report this summer, we're going to go back to probably where we were before, which is about 88% funded, I think, if I remember right. So we don't know exactly where it's going to be. We have to wait for the actual report, but it's probably going to come down from that 100% number, and we're still waiting to see how this fiscal year ends. But last fiscal year was terrible. This fiscal year will probably be better, but we don't know if it's going to hit the PERS target. Anything below that, was it 6.8%? Anything below that means that we're going to be unfunded of a certain amount again. So hopefully they can hit it, but right now it's not looking great for that. So there are, in each of the 5 years, there's continued payments towards that unfunded liability, $900,000 each year. This is an item that came up maybe a month or two ago from the city council about looking at the discretionary funds that the city council has. Right now, each council member has $10,000 that it can use for council assistance or for funding for nonprofits. That amount was set in 2017 at $10,000. Council asked the item to be brought back for consideration, so what we'll be looking for tonight when I'm done with my presentation is for you to discuss that among yourselves and give us direction of the amount that you'd like us to include, and when we present the budget to you in June, it'll include that amount for your consideration. So that concludes my report. Just a few final things here. So this is an opportunity to ask any questions or receive any public comment. Again, provide direction on the council discretionary budget amount and any other budget item that I mentioned tonight. Any proposed changes that the council would like to see will be brought back and incorporated into the budget document you see on the meeting of June 14th. At that point, you'll have an opportunity to adopt the budget on June 14th. If you're not ready to adopt on June 14th, that's okay. You can adopt it on June 28th. We do want to get it adopted before the end of the fiscal year. So you got a couple meetings if you need to do that. We are preparing the public hearing notice, and the agenda item and the budget will be promoted on social media. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Any questions or comments before, is this concludes the presentation, or is Shay coming back up?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, or not here, okay, because I do have a public
comment?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity. We have one person signed up, Kirk Thompson.
Hi, I promise I don't have any pictures this time. I just got a question about the budget, which is as far as helping the homeless and stuff like that. You talked about mental health services and money that would go there. Does that include, say, like drug rehab, things like that for those homeless that may be suffering from that, or is it just obviously there's probably overlap there, obviously, but does that also help with that? And then since we've had a lot of public commenters bring up the the animal shelters. I thought I'd just, since I'm here still, does that include the veterinarian that they've been requesting at least the last couple times I've been here? Is that, so that's
So-
really,
Yeah, so, I mean, feel free to answer if you want to, Jason, but I think he also covered the vet and why it's not right now.
okay, all right, I think I missed that,
but-
so sorry about that.
Yeah, so as far as the substance abuse treatment and so forth, the city doesn't provide those services ourselves. We typically partner with either or the private providers or mostly the county. The county provides a majority of those types of social services. We have a lot of services that will help connect people with those services. So our navigators, we talked about, we're adding a second navigator. They meet with and go out in the community and identify and work with those that are experiencing homelessness and then connect them with those services, whether it's a drug treatment program or a mental health clinician or something that they need to overcome whatever obstacles that are in their way.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, and I will add the Core Wellness Center just opened last week that will provide mental health services as it relates to the partnership with the county. So I don't see anybody else signed up for public comment, so I'll close the public comment opportunity and open it up for additional questions, comments. I'll start to the left.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Jason, for the presentation. I'll just say I'm very proud of the city's fiscal position. I think the city has traditionally been very disciplined in its spending, and you can see the results of it. Ample reserves, well-funded pension obligations. Even when that adjustment occurs, there'll still be that. And we have a practice of maintaining well-funded pension obligations. So I think you alluded to, we'll make the adjustment to bring those numbers back up if that happens. And as well as allocating resources to deal with homelessness, which we know is the biggest issue in our city and the state. Resources to help our youth, for public safety, and all the capital improvement projects that we're working on as well. So again, I'm just very, very proud of the staff and the city, what has continued to be done, and with this council, I'm sure will continue to continue forward, is maintaining a good fiscal position. Having said that, I noticed that there was a modest discretionary fund that was created when the city, I don't know quite when, but I got to say it's been over 10 years ago now. The discretionary was only 2017?
That's when it was set at $10,000. I don't know
Oh.
what it was prior to that, but it's been $10,000 since 2017.
Since 2017, okay. Yeah, so I mean, at this point, I think with the growth in the city, I mean, I would support something increasing that amount. We've had a lot of other nonprofits that continue to seek funding, and I know all of us on here look to help them out. And so I personally would support an increase in that.
Do you have an idea? An amount?
I mean, I think last time, we alluded to, I thought maybe, doubling it for that was, but I don't have any,
Yeah.
huge, strong feeling either way.
And I think, and as I recall, at least in private discussions, you run out pretty much halfway through when you're supporting nonprofits and so forth.
Yeah, all mine are always, I mean, it's obligated for
Yeah.
all the nonprofits, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
This is going to sound odd. I really enjoyed reading the budget document, and I swear I'm going to get all the way through it, but
No salty, though.
no, I'm not salty about I'm not salty about the budget in the least bit. Because one, I mean, the city is in a great fiscal position to begin with. But what I'm seeing in the budget, particularly at the high level right now, I mean, I'm looking forward till we can dig further down into what all these things are. But I believe that we're keeping our promise. We're keeping our promise to the voters who asked for measure or who approved Measure E. I think our budget's well in line with that. I'm excited to see such mundane things as litter abatement. Litter matters, right? People care about living in a clean city. I recognize, again, that's not the most exciting part of the budget, but what I do like to see is, other things that are going to be happening in the police department, things that can improve safety, not just for residents, but for the officers as well. So, I mean, like I said, I can go on about all of those things for, another 20 minutes here, but I don't think you want to hear that. But I am looking forward to finishing reading it, and I don't mean that as a joke. And I'm looking forward to talking about it more at the next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I would support an increase. I don't know what that number would be. I don't know the doubling is. I don't know what that answer is. So I'm willing to go with what consensus is.
Councilmember Brewer?
I know my sentiments are aligned with Councilmember Soon and Vice Mayor Spees in that regard, because there's a lot of charities in the city that we find ourselves giving to. I know Big Day of Giving, I found myself with the funds that I had, 'cause I think coming in, I believe I had half of the 10,000, but I know those pretty much most of those funds went to local charities. And there were local charities that I've supported over the years. And so just providing that extra relief was very good to me. And I would look forward to doing something like that next year, especially if our discretionary fundings increase, because that allows me to help more of our local charities, or at least put them in a better position to win. One of the things I like is that the fiscal discipline that we exercise over the past, I'd say the past 7 years, but I definitely see the work, the method behind the madness. Yourself and the finance team has done a really good job in keeping the city moving forward and staying disciplined. And like I said, the passage of Measure E, the faith that the voters had in Measure E and supporting it, relieves a lot of pressures that we have right now, especially as the national economic picture looks more and more volatile. We've placed ourselves in a very strong position, and as long as we keep exercising that prudence, we will be fine. We will be fine. And that's from my day job and looking at a lot of different models, focusing on the budget, the state budget, also looking at the national budget. It's like my day job is a very interesting job because it finds myself doing more of the economic analysis and working with my colleagues and providing that snapshot, not just for my company, but also for what the rest of the country looks like. So as long as we stay on the course, staying focused, I believe we will weather the storm. But I do know that Measure E does alleviate a lot of those pressures. One of the things that I did have a question on is, as we look at, say, Keep Elk Grove Clean, there's a lot of projects as graffiti gets done on our walls. As we know, in Old Town Elk Grove, the utility box that is owned by Union Pacific. I know I've had meetings with Union Pacific staff in the past few weeks, and they're expressing a desire to do something. So hopefully we can continue working with them, see what that looks like, and whether it's something we could do as a partnership in collaboration with the UP, or if it's something that they would shoulder the costs of. That's something we could explore, but maybe that's something that hopefully that doesn't factor into what we do in our budget. And something that I will look at with strong interest next year, and I'll just mention it now, but put a table on it, is looking for a way to reestablish our Police Activities League. Because we do a lot of stuff with our youth in the area, and I don't know how that was budgeted in the past, and I'll work with you on that, Chief, because I think that's a very righteous program, and saw some of the benefits that our youth experience from that. That's something we can look at for next year, but I'd love to explore what that will look like as we prepare for it, so we can just hit the ground running in '24, because that would be a really exciting thing, not only for the city, but I think as we look at some of our modeling And if we're doing everything that we're doing right now, I think we could bring that into the fold and have it work and be effective in some way, shape, or form.
In terms of the discretionary, a number just to get some guidance. So Councilmember Soon mentioned doubling it. Councilmember Spee said he'll go with the flow. Do you have an idea so we can start to get around a number?
I'd say the neighborhood we should really talk about 20 right now. If we go above 20, then I don't know if we would, if I would just start slow and start at 20.
Okay.
And have the discussion go from there.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Robles.
I agree with my fellow council members. I think 20,000 is enough and sufficient. Thank you, Jason, for that presentation. I truly appreciate you giving us the high-level overview. I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about it, and I'm looking forward to asking more questions later.
Thank you. Like the comments that I've heard so far, the transparency of really putting it out there for the public to understand how our government works. Our fiscal position is strong. Our reserves are strong, so those are great to see. I liked how you broke down all of the public safety components that are under consideration, and I'm most excited about the community prosecutor program in partnership with our district attorney, Tian Ho. And as it relates to our discretionary, I would support doubling that. I know I'm using the last little bit that I have left for this fiscal year to support one of our youth commissioners as an intern in the office for 2 months before he goes off into college, and that's Ethan Lipsy, who graduated today. So he's been cleared to come work for I think it's 15 hours or something like that. It's nothing big, but it allows him to get some small amount of money while he's learning how government works. So, and that's another opportunity for, is look at some of our youth commissioners for a paid internship position. So if there's projects or things that you would like for them to work on. I know that's how I started way back when I worked for Mayor Joe Sterna. It started off as a paid intern, so I know the value of those. So I would definitely be in support of doubling. Other than that, thank you for that great presentation. And that concludes, so I will turn it, I know that there was, I'll turn it over to Councilmember Suen to share some sad news.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to close this meeting tonight in honor of a couple of people, actually. Lisa Firth Davis, Elk Grove resident, who passed away from cancer, and also A.J. Rollins, who succumbed to cancer after a 6-year battle. A.J., as a young man, he was a basketball standout at St. Mary's College, and he's a man of great character and integrity, infectious positivity. He's a fantastic husband and father, and a basketball coach to many. So he was beloved in the city of Elk Grove and the Elk Grove family. So thank you.
Want to talk about Chris?
Yeah, for those of you, yeah. I mean, it was just the news as well. Chris Yaros was in a car accident and killed this evening. Yeah.
Big legend in the hospitality world, Sacramento region.
Yeah, if you
Broderick's house.
Yeah, if you're aware of the Drewski's food trucks, the Broderick's restaurants, that was Chris's work, and we've all known Chris over the years. And when we started doing the food truck events here in Elk Grove, Chris, along with the Sacto Mofo crew, they led the way and was making the rounds down here. And dude had a great sense of humor. I love me some Chris. And the funny part about it is, like, he had an affinity to use the swear word, but the thing about it is that it was just part of his vernacular. And but Chris is a righteous dude, and to hear this just now, it's kind of rough, especially like in last week. my half-sister, Latice Lee Barros. She died after a long battle with diabetes. And so I definitely want to recognize my little sister for that.
Thank you, and may their memories be a blessing to everyone that knew them. We'll adjourn in their memory. Thank you, everyone.